One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just after the stroke of noon, 12:03. Hope you guys are having a great afternoon. Got some rest, ready for a long day today. Quick housekeeping. As you guys know, Karoline Leavitt will be coming out at 1 o'clock with to this week's press conference, which should be very interesting. Let's see if they go back into their holes and just shut up, because this stuff is absolute crazy that's been going on. And I'm not just talking about the tranny stuff, and it's all crazy. And then at 2:30, I shall have the girls who are now famous. Chicago Flips Red will be here in the house. They started here, and all of a sudden they ascended, and we got bumped yesterday because they're on Laura Ingraham, and they're on Fox and Friends, and they're on Newsmax, and they went big time on us. But they're going to be talking about what's happening in Chicago. And then tonight, we're going to be doing a movie night. But before we do the movie night, I think Ashley's got a couple former FBI agents on before we do the jump. And then when we do the jump over to Rumble, make sure you got your blankets, your pillows, some popcorn. It's a 2.5-hour movie. It's called, what is it called? Code X 9/11. It was recommended by, Alpha Warrior and the guy over there. Shut up, Midas. I am so sorry. He's not acting correct today. Midas, you're going to have to stop that. Now. Yeah, he listens to me a lot, doesn't he? Oh, my doggy. But anyway, so we're going to cover that tonight. But before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and strangle my chihuahua. But I want you to see something. I want you to really dwell on what the Democrats are now doing, how they're moving into the next phase of their attack on us, their next phase on their attack on America. And what you're going to see here is the even further revealing of the communist mindset. I mean, I could show you some more stuff about the communist mindset. Right now, they're having a rally in New York City because Al Sharpton has got his network of people out there, and they're screaming and holding flags and doing everything because it's about saving DEI. Man, these people are really going after small issues. Nobody cares about DEI. But this one, I noticed yesterday after the event happened at the school in Minneapolis. And I feel like it's starting to bubble up, but you need to take notice of it and be ready to fight like hell. This is the bridge too far. This is where Americans, if you want a country, if you want your way of life, all the other stuff we may have, took the punches and got pissed off. This one, you better stand toe to toe and get up in people's faces if they say this stuff to you. So I want you to listen to this. It's very short. It's only 49 seconds long.
Appreciate this journey. I agree with the mayor. I'm not the thoughts and prayers. I'm so beyond that nonsense, the lie of that.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now.
Forget about thoughts and prayers. These kids were literally praying.
And yet again, like clockwork, half of the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the thoughts and prayers, and then comes the attempt to shift the focus.
No, the attempt to shift the focus isn't us, or at least most of the people who are watching on this channel. The focus is God. The focus has been God. The focus should be God. And that little, watch, they almost used the same words. The attack is now going to become reality. This is what they're going to be pushing. Everything else has failed. They couldn't take away your gun, so now they're going to try and take away your prayer, which cannot happen. You see, most of us who are true, faithful followers of Christ, we know that's the death line. You may get me to acquiesce to this. You may get us to acquiesce to that. We may put up with your jabs. Now you're telling us prayer is nonsense? Do you really want to go there? Do you really want to say prayer is nonsense? And understand what they're saying here. Because they may be talking about the Catholic school yesterday, and they may think they're talking about Christian, but they didn't say Christian prayer. So you tell me how you're going to get prayer out of a population. How are you going to stop the Muslims, the Jews, the Christians, the Buddhists? You are now saying prayer is nonsense. That is a central tenet in communism. They are getting ready for what's going to be the next affront to everybody. This guy running up in New York and what they're doing right now in New York, they are laying the foundation for their communist manifesto. You can't have religion. You cannot have faith. It is not allowed in their communist Marxist playbook. And I just found it odd that yesterday, that's what launched after everything happened. Prayer, it's nonsense. And what struck me, the reason why I put that one first, is that guy used to be one of the chair people in the Republican National Committee. What kind of wolf in sheep's clothing was he? How exactly did he get in and rise to the top of the Republican National Committee when truly inside, unless he's lying now and being blasphemous, calling prayer nonsense? I talked to JJ this morning and I said, have you seen this stuff? And he's like, no, I saw the information about what happened. I go, are you seeing their response at this point? And obviously he's busy. He's not a news junkie like I am. And I said, let me go ahead and send you a link to what they're saying. He was struck. I don't know if all of you have seen some of this stuff, but it's out there and they're downplaying, denigrating, calling it nonsense, Forget about it. Stop talking about it. Stop praying. We're tired of hearing you people pray. And I'm like, wait a second. This is too much. Too many people saying it for it just to be happenstance. So at this point, it seems like the evil one has declared war. That they are now going to say, you people who do this stuff, that pray to some person up in a cloud that you don't know, and you're blah, 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 you're crazy. You thought it was crazy before. You think kids are walking into schools and doing crazy stuff now. Wait till they start telling everybody, yeah, you know, that God stuff, it's all fantastical. It doesn't exist. You don't need it. It's nonsense. It's a tooth fairy. It's Santa Claus. Grow up. Those people who do that praying stuff, they're the nuts. They are the nuts. They don't know what needs to happen. We do. We know we need to take away guns. We know we need to take their money. We need all of this. They don't need that. You don't need that. We got you. Everything's okay. You're fine. You want to wear a dress, wear a dress. You want to play against girls, play against girls. You want to grow nails this long and put stuff in your nose? Oh, that's fantastic. That's just being you. You want to have binary, whatever? Yeah. Robin went to the doctor yesterday. She actually sent me a copy of the form, and there was like 9 boxes. And she's like, what in the hell is this? What? No wonder they're confused. You can't fill out a simple form. Hey, can you put down your age? Yeah. And now tell us which one of these things you are. At a doctor's office. At a doctor's office who should be following the edicts and tenets of medicine, they are now and have been playing along with this insanity. Not only are they playing along, they are promoting it. And what makes it worse, I saw this stuff with RFK Jr. today that I'm going to show you right now. We're going to go through, where it may be much worse than playing along and advocating for it. This entire malaise that is affecting this country, that they are pushing with everything they have right now to make sure you understand that these people are fine and you're the one with the problem, may be as simple as medication, drugs, and food. You see, many of us sat back and said, none of this makes any sense. We didn't have all these people running around like this back when we were growing up. No, I mean, once in a while you'd see somebody, but hey, that's a crazy person. And now it's everywhere? All of a sudden, if this thing was normal, it just sprouted up like a flower? What's been going on for the last 2,000 years? How did it only happen recently? Well, RFK Jr. talked today, and when he came out, he was on Fox and Friends, and also I've got a piece where he talked yesterday about a new initiative he's going to be doing, and then I interviewed Kim from Brightcore about microplastics, and you're starting to see at this point, we may have been bamboozled, we may have been guinea pigs, and now our kids, with everything from autism to the Transformer stuff, have they been playing Frankensteinian tricks on us? A big lab experiment to see what happens, and now nobody has any accountability except the ones who are saying the accountability. They're telling us we're wrong for noticing it. It's like, hey man, I just read this dude's manifestos yesterday. Oh, that's right, he's not a dude, it's a dudette. No, it's a dude. And we read his rantings and ravings and backwards writing and Cyrillic journals, and you looked into the eyes and soul of a madman. And they're telling us we're the ones who are crazy. We're the ones who need to step back and embrace this. Well, after what I saw last night, after what you saw last night, I hope you did the opposite. I hope you pulled a full Costanza. I hope you looked at what you saw last night and said, no, 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 no. And you said, I'm going to pray. And then you woke up this morning and continued telling other people, we're not the crazy ones. That's what they want you to believe. You're crazy for praying, and you're crazy for not acknowledging, accepting, and embracing what is an obvious mental defect. Me personally, I'm not going to do it anymore. I have to conform with words here because of the business I've chosen, but don't let it affect your life. You are the right. You are in control of your situation. You have a God that has ordained us. These people are trying to change everything about your life and the American way of life, and probably some other nations as well. Wait till the Muslims find out that them praying to Allah is nonsense. I dare them to say that. I dare any one of these people on any network to say that praying to Allah is nonsense. I double dog dare you. I dare you to do that more than I say go walk through Chicago. They're going to start with us, but they've exposed themselves. This is what they really feel. They are absolute atheists, and there is no higher calling, which explains their lives. I mean, think about it right now. After seeing the stuff they're saying about prayer, you can honestly sit back and go, yeah, now that explains it. That explains everything. You people are lost, wandering around, and endangering the rest of us, and in poisoning our kids. Absolutely poisoning our kids. I'm done with it. I'm over it. Like the movie Network. I'm mad as hell, still mad as hell, especially after seeing that crap last night. But I'm not going to take it anymore. This is RFK Jr. this morning.
So Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. joins us now. And I know we're all watching this together, Mr. Secretary, and wondering how we would prevent it. And we're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear. You are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide, suicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about, in their clinical trials, that they saw suicidal and homicidal ideation. So, you know, we are going into that with an open mind. We're looking, a lot of these studies have not been done in the past because of HIPAA regulations, which protect the privacy of patients. But it's something right now that we are looking at. We need to look at it, and we need to explain why all this violence is happening, and we need to look at every possibility.
Right.
So imagine there is a medication that they're giving to people who are going through this transition that actually says on the box, may cause suicidal tendencies. I don't want any of that. I don't want to go to a doctor to help me with a situation I'm dealing with that's going to make me want to kill myself. Hey, Barry, yeah, I understand you're looking to lose some weight. Yeah, well, take this. Okay, thank you. It'll help me? Yeah. Hey, Doc, on the back here it says, might cause suicidal tendencies. Yeah, that's one of the side effects. Take that. Don't call me anymore. Don't have your staff call me. I don't want to hear from you. You just handed me what essentially is poison. Might cause suicide tendencies, might cause you to get into a homicidal rage. What? And you're giving this to kids? You're giving this to kids whose minds haven't even formed yet? Hey, you might want to go ahead and kill yourself. Good luck. So in addition to lopping off their junk and stripping off their boobs and doing all this other stuff and cutting their hair and putting nose rings in and dyeing their hair and getting giant fat, you're giving them suicidal medicine? Anybody else have a problem with this? Anybody who's a parent, like, hey, Sally, you're going to be Stu really quick. And when Stu comes, Stu's going to be a homicidal maniac. And our government has been okaying this stuff? My gosh. This is Frankensteinian. They would turn this into fucking zombies, Frankenstein zombies walking around who want to kill.
Obviously, you have a lot of things at play, whether it's the SSRIs or just the profound mental disease that is affecting a lot of these people. And obviously, we have endured a lot of these shootings over the years. What can be done about the HIPAA regulations so that federal authorities can get around that and actually examine the bodies and do forensic analysis of some of the mental diseases that go into this?
We have the authority to do that. We need IRB approval to do those kind of studies, but we can get to that data. It has not been done in the past, and we need, this kind of violence is very recent. It's a new thing in human history. There was no...
So our Director of Health and Human Services, this is some new stuff here. This is some crazy new stuff that these people are doing. Duh. And I don't know if you've been following the stuff that's been happening in the last 24 hours in the CDC. They're dropping like flies. They're like, I'm out, I resign. Except the head, and this is something I've never seen before. I never knew you can get fired and sue and say, no, I'm not going. And what's interesting about, they'll talk about this in a second. Let me wait until they get to this woman. She's the head of the CDC. She's been fired. And she's like, nah, I'm not leaving. Which I never knew you could do. When I've gotten fired in my life, I didn't know, pack your shit and go. And they're like, nope, can't make me. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not working here anymore. And wait till you hear the stuff that they've been approving and saying are their accomplishments.
In the past, when people would walk into a church or a classroom and start shooting people, and it's not really happening in other countries. It's happening here, and we need to look at all of the potential culprits that might be contributing to that.
Secretary, the CDC director was fired after refusing to resign as her lawyers accuse you, sir, of putting millions of American lives at risk as a CDC vaccine chief slammed in a resignation post. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, I'm not going to comment. It would be inappropriate for me to comment on a personnel issue. What I will say is, President Trump has very, very ambitious hopes for CDC right now. CDC has problems. We saw the misinformation coming out of COVID. They got the testing wrong. They got the social distancing, the masks, the school closures that did so much harm to the American people. Today on CDC's website right now, they list the 10 top advances, the 10 greatest advances in medical science, and one of them is abortion. Another is fluoridation, another is vaccines. So we need to look at.
Here's what we've accomplished over the last 20, 30 years that are such fantastic accomplishments of medicines. We've perfected vacuuming out babies. That's on our American CDC website. And I guess they finally got to the point where they're like, you're done, you get out, you get out. That's what you're heralding as a success, great success and achievement? The sickness goes deep.
The priorities of the agency, if there's really a deeply, deeply embedded, I would say, malaise at the agency. And we need strong leadership that will go in there and that will be able to execute on President Trump's broad ambitions.
Yeah,
to restore this agency to gold standard science and to what it was when we were growing up, which was the most respected health agency in the world.
So this is what the attorney said. When CDC Director Susan Menarez refused to rubber stamp unscientific records.
Okay, you can't see it because I covered it up with the lower third. My bad. But as I was watching this, I looked down in that blue part where it's got the person's name. And you know the person at the Federal Reserve who was fired and she's not going? And she filed the lawsuit. You remember a couple days ago? And I made fun of the fact that now she's suing the Trump administration because she's fired and she's not going, and she got an attorney. And her attorney was Hunter Biden's attorney. And I was like, small world, huh? He just happened to go find Hunter Biden's attorney. Yeah. Guess who this woman just hired? Yep, Hunter Biden's attorney. Hunter Biden's attorney are representing all these deep state snakes, which must tell you something. You know, fool me once, shame on me, but you keep trying to fool me. Hunter Biden's attorney is representing the Federal Reserve lady. Hunter Biden's attorney is representing the CDC lady. Who's paying for all this? Soros? I don't know. This is a high-priced law firm. Abby Lowell is not cheap. These people make a couple $100,000 a year. They could probably run up $1 million or so in legal fees. Something's wrong here. There's no way that Hunter Biden's attorney, who's represented other criminals in the government, and is now representing the Federal Reserve lady, is now representing the CDC lady. And nobody's, even as Fox is talking about it, nobody's putting that together and going, wait a second, how is this name showing up again? Connect the flipping dots here. Something's really wrong.
Directives and fire dedicated health expert. She chose to protecting the public over serving a political agenda. For that, she has been targeted. So she says you have a political agenda. Deborah Horry, the chief medical officer, has resigned. The infectious disease director, David Jennings, I think, has resigned as well. Is this something that's caught you by surprise? What's your reaction to people that are getting a little worried?
I think that, no, it has not caught us by surprise. Again, I cannot comment on personnel issues, but the agency is in trouble, and we need to fix it, and we are fixing it, and it may be that some people should not be working there anymore.
Yeah. Sir, can I ask?
Go ahead.
What's the biggest challenge that you're facing in implementing Donald Trump's, vision as a mandate by the American people to make the American communities safer and healthier, sir? What's the biggest challenge you face?
Well, one of the things that we were going to talk about on this show is our newest initiative to try to get the medical schools to start teaching nutrition. Right now, only about 15% of doctors say that they feel competent to give nutrition advice. 7 out of 10 Americans die from diet-related diseases. So, and you can reverse up to 50% of diabetes cases just by changing the diet. And yet we have a medical community that is writing prescriptions largely and doesn't even feel competent. So we've gone to the medical schools, we've gone to the MCAT testing companies, and we've gone to the accreditors and said we want to see real nutrition classes taught at every medical school in this country. Typically, even medical schools that say that they have nutrition classes or opportunities only give you about 2.5 hours during your entire medical school.
Wow.
And we want our physicians to be able to give dietary advice and nutrition advice to their patients and not just rely on the pharmaceutical paradigm.
You know, it seems like such an obvious answer, maybe the most obvious thing that, what you eat is going to have an effect on your health. Why do you think that medical schools are slow to understand the importance of that?
You know, I think a lot of them are catching on. And so we have not encountered a lot of resistance from this. There was some resistance from the accreditors and the testing companies, but I think we are close to reaching an understanding with them.
All right. I also know the next month you're going to announce what you think is going to be the cause of autism, and you say there are certain interventions that are causing it. Is there anything else you want to say to the people that are wondering why we're having this blitz of autism in America?
I mean, autism rates in 1970 in this country were less than 1 in 10,000. And the biggest epidemiological study in history was done that year in 1970. And it validated and confirmed many other studies, similar studies at the same time. So we've gone to that, to the CDC announcing that 1 in every 31 Americans has autism. It's probably actually worse than that, because California, which has the best data collection system, reports that 1 out of every 19 kids now has autism, 1 out of every 12.5 boys. This is a crisis. There is not a single cause. There are many. There's an aggregation of causes. Okay. And we are now developing sufficient evidence to ask for regulatory action on some of those, or at least recommendations. Mr. Secretary, it's an extremely busy day for you. A lot of change going on, and you're also moving at 100 miles an hour, like everybody in the Trump team. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hey, everybody, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. Today, the Trump administration is demanding bold reform in our medical education system. I'm leading a team at HHS with the support of Secretary McMahon at the Department of Education that targets a situation that everyone has long recognized as wrong, but no one has yet had the gumption to fix. It's the woeful lack of nutrition education in medicine. Poor diet drives America's chronic disease crisis, fueling 7 of our 10 deadliest conditions. Each year, it claims an estimated 1 million American lives through diet-related illnesses. Meanwhile, we pour more than $4 trillion annually into treating these preventable diseases, and we continue to graduate physicians unprepared to confront their root cause. The good news is that diet not only causes these conditions, it can also prevent and reverse them. But for too long, we've instead analyzed the chronic disease crisis, commissioned studies, and pontificated about the importance of nutrition without taking any meaningful action. Recent data reveals a critical disconnect. Although all medical schools claim to include nutrition in their curricula, most medical students report receiving no formal nutrition education throughout their entire training. This leads to a troubling reality. Most medical students recognize nutrition as necessary. Nearly all medical residents are asked to counsel patients about nutrition, but fewer than a quarter of practicing physicians feel adequately prepared to provide nutrition advice. We can reverse the chronic disease epidemic simply by changing our diets and lifestyles. But to do that, we need nutrition to be a basic part of every doctor's training. We'll start by embedding nutrition directly into college pre-med programs and testing it on the MCAT. Every future physician should master the language of prevention before they even touch a stethoscope. Under President Trump's leadership, we are going to systematically transform nutrition education throughout American medicine. For more than 200 of America's medical schools, 13,000 residency and fellowship programs, and ultimately each of the nation's 1.1 million practicing physicians. In the future, doctors won't just prescribe drugs. They'll be able to prescribe diets as well, by confidently screening for diet-related diseases and collaborating with nutrition experts to recommend food-based solutions. Our reforms will save our country hundreds of billions of dollars and prevent millions of debilitating chronic diseases. This is an approach that is both radical and common sense. We're going to reconnect medicine with its roots. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." His advice remains true today, and we're bringing back food to its proper place in medicine.
So there was an interesting story this week that I saw on the Will Cain show on Fox News, and it was all about organ donation. I haven't really followed a lot of information that's going out there about organ donation, but it seems like there's a push to reform organ donation. So check out this video real quick, and we'll talk to somebody about it.
In 2022, Daniela Gallegos, she fell into a coma at a New Mexico hospital and was allegedly going to have her organs harvested. On the day of the surgery, Daniela's family reported seeing her move. According to the New York Times, donor officials allegedly still pushed for the operation despite signs of life. The hospital refused. Daniela reportedly went on to make a full recovery. Now, this case is not the only one. In 2021, a Kentucky man named TJ Hoover was rushed to the hospital after a suspected overdose. Doctors believed he wouldn't survive and flagged that he was an organ donor. TJ was moments away from the organ harvesting procedure. Suddenly, he woke up. Fortunately, TJ survived, but he lives with PTSD since that day. Meanwhile, a federal investigation into nonprofit group Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates, also known as CODA, may have pushed hospital workers towards surgery despite a patient's signs of life. It's important to remember organ donations do play a vital role in our society when done appropriately.
All right, so I've had somebody on the show many times that you guys seem to like when she comes on. I've got Kim Bright from Brightcore to talk to us today about organ donation and the reform that has to happen accordingly. Kim, good morning. How are you doing?
Well, hey, Barry, I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, awesome. Awesome day here. Getting ready for the weekend. All right, recently there's been an investigation that revealed some disturbing practices at this nonprofit in Kentucky. Tell me more about that.
Well, you know, the whole organ harvesting company situation is really very shady. And there's a situation where, I don't know why, but Kentucky seems to be the leader in the nation. They're looking into now, RFK Jr. found out that some really shady deals are going on with organ transplants. So he is now investigating, and he's looking all over the country, but Kentucky comes out the leader. You know, it's so sad because this is a horror story. There are people that, you know, they're saying brain dead, we can harvest your organs. You know, if you're going down on the gurney and you wake up, they still want to harvest your organs. I mean, what's really sad is this gentleman in Kentucky, you know, he came in with an overdose and he was in a coma, and they were wheeling him down and they were going to take his organs, but he woke up and the organ harvesting company on the other end of the phone was saying, no, take his organs anyway.
A shocking case out of Richmond. A man was declared brain dead and was prepared to donate his organs, though hard to believe he was in fact alive.
36-year-old TJ Hoover had his life changed forever. On October 25th, 2021, he was admitted to Baptist Health Richmond's emergency room. He was experiencing cardiac arrest and was deemed code blue.
We were told TJ had no reflexes, no responses, no brain waves, no brain activity.
Because of that declaration, they decided to honor TJ's wishes as an organ donor.
We had his honor walk, but almost as soon as his honor walk started, his eyes started open, and not just opening, he was tracking around looking to see, you know, what was going on. And we were told that was just reflexes, just a normal instinct. He's not there.
But that wasn't the case. In fact, he wasn't dead. He was very much alive.
I feel like they were trying to choose my brother. They were going to sacrifice my brother's life to save how many every other people.
This is really a horror story. And brain dead is a lie that's been invented by organ harvest companies, according to Dr. Paul Byrne, who's a medical doctor. And he states that every organ has to be from the living, not a cadaver. So I think people, when they are organ donors on their driver's license, they have no idea that their organs are going to be harvested while they're still alive. So we really have to take care of our organs, not for donation, but to live longer and healthier lives, Barry.
Now, you said two terms there that I wanted to ask you about, because I didn't know until you just said it. Organ donation or organ harvesting companies. I think a lot of people think when they check that box on their driver's license that organ harvesting is done by the hospital or a doctor. It's actually done by a company outside of the hospital?
Well, in some cases they do it at a hospital. In other cases, they do it outside of the hospital, and then they're transported back to the hospitals. There was a nightmare situation, and this is why RFK Jr. found out about it. He heard about somebody suing these companies because their daughter was taken from the hospital to an organ transplant or an organ donation company's wherever they were doing it. And she woke up on the table as they were actually doing the organ donation surgery. And so they rushed her back to the hospital. She ended up dying. So now that family's suing. So sometimes it's in the hospital, sometimes it's at different locations. So this is really warranting some investigation into it, because there's a lot of money involved with this too. It's almost like, how Big Pharma was in bed with the FDA prior to President Trump coming in, and now RFK Jr. is reforming that. Well, this is kind of the same thing, because they've had, they have shown that that organ harvesters were very involved with the people that were regulating them. So this is kind of shady, don't you think?
Oh, it's very shady. And you know what's funny? When these stories come out, we all like cringe just even hearing somebody open you up and wanting to take your kidneys or your livers or whatever else. And that's the only time people usually think of their organs, unless something goes wrong. But what can people do to try, instead of donating your organs, treat your organs better to actually live longer and healthier?
Well, they need to take care of themselves. They really do need to pay attention to what they're eating, what they're drinking, and what they're, what they're around, what they're touching. We've got so many things that are in the air and our water and our soil that are, wreaking havoc on our organ health.
All right, so one of those things that obviously you're talking about, but I've been seeing in the news, a lot of people don't seem to understand about, is microplastics. But before I get you to comment on that, I want everybody to see this video right here about microplastics.
His latest effort will be removing harmful microplastics found in our food, water, and even air.
We don't know the effects of microplastics in the human body, but we have disturbing studies that link microplastics to cancer, to dementia, and reproductive problems.
So I understand that RFK Jr. promises some action against microplastics. It's been stated that humans now ingest, and this is crazy, 6 times more microplastics than in 1990. In just a short amount of time, we've gone 6x on the ingest and digesting, I guess, or not digesting, of microplastics. Kim, how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because it's all around us. It's in the air, it's in the soil, it's in the water. And we're ingesting now 6 times more, Barry, than we were in 1990. And what it's doing is altering our cell behavior in our internal organs, and it's dubbed plasticosis. Really strange stuff going on here. What it's doing is it's causing all kinds of infertility. It's causing organ problems. It's causing all kinds of heart and brain and liver problems. It is really impacting our health so badly. We're drinking water out of water bottles that are, trucked in. And as they're trucked in, they're heated up in these big, trucks that are transporting them. And then they are dropped off at places where they sit outside for hours or who knows how long. When you heat up microplastics, you are now strengthening the chemical bonds and you're allowing more of it to go into what you're drinking or you're eating. It's awful. It's really bad.
My wife, for some time now, is telling, especially with what I do, and down here in the South Florida sun, has said, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And we've been drinking so much water. And then one day I noticed I went out to the pantry to get the water and it was gone. And I'm like, honey, where's the water? She's like, it's over there. And now she only uses glass spring water and she filters it and everything else because people don't understand that everyone told you to hydrate, but they're telling you to hydrate again from a bottle, like you said, it's been sitting in the storeroom or something. And they're not realizing that those microplastics are, I don't know if you want to say decomposing or becoming a part of your water. And now the microplastics are even in your food. So Kim, how is that even possible? How are the microplastics being allowed by these companies to be ingested by people without them even knowing that it's going into their bloodstream?
Well, it's a huge problem, Barry, because the situation is we've got it, coming into our meats. When we water the grass with the water that's loaded with microplastics and other chemicals. So it's in the grass that the beef is eating. It's in the fish. It's in the seafood that are in the oceans. It's everywhere. And they did a study, and that study showed that 88% of meat, whether it was pork or beef or chicken, seafood, the different types of seafoods, and alternate proteins like tofu and plant-based, they all had it. 88% of what they tested had microplastics in it. And they didn't even test for nanoplastics, which are, millions and billions times smaller that you can't even see. So in Southeast Asia, if you live there, you're going to have up to 50 times higher amounts than they did in 1990. And Scandinavia, the Middle East, and Africa are high as well. And just to let you know, plastic production, when they started that after World War I, it was low until, it started creeping up. And by 1990, over 100 million tons of plastics were being manufactured worldwide. And now, in 2020, over 500 million tons are manufactured worldwide. So when you have all of this manufacturing of plastics and this use of plastics and, in wrapping and when you wrap the meat, when you ultra processed foods, you've got higher amounts in things like chicken nuggets and fried shrimp, because of the coatings, and the ultra-processed foods go through more chains of being touched by plastic, whether it's equipment, whether it's the wrapping, whether it's, it could be whatever. And the inhalation too, we're inhaling these particles. It's highest in China and Mongolia. If you're living over there, because of all their production, their industries over there, you're up to 2.8 million particles you're inhaling a day. But if you're living in America or Canada, it's only 10,000 particles. That's crazy too.
It's funny. I used to do some work with a environmental company that used to like to pick up plastics. And part of the training videos, they would show some of these beaches that were just disgustingly inundated with plastic and all other kinds of garbage. And, as you've been talking to us about what's in the food, we all think it's just in your gut. But I understand now that microplastics are even getting into people's brains. I saw this video. It's absolutely terrifying.
And we start with a new study on the impact of microplastics, which found human brains contained as much plastic as a plastic spoon, which is up 50% from 2016.
What we're finding is in the brains of people who have dementia, there's actually higher amounts of microplastics. So essentially, these microplastics, or these tiny little particles of plastics, are crossing the blood-brain barrier, and they're depositing into our brain. And they're being correlated with increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like dementia, possibly linked to autism and other things that affect the brain. There's also evidence showing increased risk of stroke, and increase inflammation overall. So I have always said, listen, there's no way to avoid microplastics entirely unless you're going to live in a bubble. And by the way, that bubble couldn't be a plastic bubble. It'd have to be a glass bubble.
So what exactly is this stuff called BPA?
Well, BPA is bisphenol acetone. And that is a plastic that is just inundated everywhere. And so University of New Mexico did a study in 2016, and they showed that we already have plastic in our brain. But by 2023, 24, when they did another study, now we have a spoonful of plastic in our brain, which amounts to 0.5% plastic in our brain. It's like if you had a plastic spoon, that's the amount. It's about 7 grams.
Wow.
Our brains are now 99.5% human. But this University of New Mexico, they did this study, and they showed that the cadavers that they were looking at, if you had, some of them had Alzheimer's, they were 10% more than the other brains, but it had increased by 50% since 2016 up to this study in 2024. That's crazy, Barry. That's not even 10 years, and it's already doubled.
So, Kim, I saw this recent video about microplastics even being in our blood. You guys got to check this out.
Bright ones, we've got clear ones.
Tons of microplastics wash ashore all over the world every day. And now for the first time, scientists in the Netherlands have detected microplastic pollution in human blood.
All the microplastics and nanoplastics we are exposed to, we inhale and we ingest, that actually, there's so much plastic that it can even enter our bloodstream.
The Dutch study on blood samples from healthy adults detected tiny plastic particles in 80% of people.
Kim, how is that possible? How is the microplastics coming in that we're ingesting actually getting into the blood?
Well, it goes into our blood once it goes through our digestion, and we've now got it in the blood clots. And because we've got microplastic in blood clots, that is now, per studies, linked to higher risks of heart attacks and strokes. And a 2022 study showed that there were higher levels of microplastics in the blood levels of people with IBS. And so, the gut is really playing a role here. And microplastics are they're all different sizes. They have very sharp edges that can cut into our gut. They can cut into our bloodstream and making holes everywhere. The blood-brain barrier gets all messed up, as well as we've seen with that clip that you played earlier. But the microplastics, because of their odd shapes and everything, and because of their electromagnetic field, they suck in heavy metals, Barry. And they also suck in other toxic chemicals. And because of their inert chemical properties, they can't be metabolized in our body or degraded in our body.
It's insane. And I don't think there's enough being done about it. And I think that's why RFK Jr. has decided to reform this, not just for the organ donors, but for the living as well. And speaking of RFK Jr., I got to tell you a quick story. I was doing research for one of my shows, and as I was doing research, a clip of him on Fox and Friends Weekend popped up. I played it on the show, and I said, I have to talk to Kim Bright about this because she's been telling us about kimchi for quite some time. You guys need to check this out if you haven't seen it.
Mainly meat and then fermented vegetable, anything fermented. So a lot of kimchi and all kinds of fermented vegetables. And it's really, I would say it's dramatically changed my, everything.
Kim, I don't know how old RFK Jr. is. I think he's 70 or 72 or something, but he looks great. And do you think kimchi in his diet has helped him with that amazing figure that he still has at his age?
I think so. I mean, he's a couple years older, 2 or 3 years older than I am, and I definitely agree. Kimchi, I eat it every day. I love it. I eat it, in either fresh form or capsule form. But, the whole thing when we are dealing, just to go step back a minute here, with the use of plastics and having them invade our bodies, they're endocrine disruptors. They act like the feminine hormones. And so men are becoming more feminized. We're having problems with men, even sperm counts. We have fetal abnormalities, low birth weight with babies, and brain and behavior disorders in infants and children with these microplastics. Also, they're linked with diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and obesity.
Wow.
So what is really exciting is that there is a bacteria. When I was doing research, and I got so excited about this, speaking about kimchi, that when I saw this, I thought, wow, this is the answer, because BPA, as I said earlier, can't be degraded in the body. But yet I found a study that showed that if you have this Bacillus pumilus present, which is in kimchi, it's only in kimchi, it's the unique strain found in kimchi, it actually can go in and degrade in our body. And the plastics that we are taking in, this BPA. So this was exciting news for me. So we have to take active steps to remove these toxins, Barry, from the body before they do irreversible damage to us. And you know, in a 2025 study, there were 2 other lactobacillus strains that were found in kimchi that bind to and flush out the microplastics. So here we have the Bacillus pumilus that can degrade the BPA. And then we have 2 other strains of lactobacillus that are in kimchi that bind to them and then flush them out. And that is Bacillus paracasi and Bacillus plantarum. These 2 also are found in kimchi. And you can eat sauerkraut and dill pickles all you want and other fermented foods. You are not going to get these specific strains that will bind to and degrade and then help these exit out of the body as they're wrapped around them. So it also helps reduce intestinal-induced inflammation. Wow. And, you know, people don't realize they are surrounded by all this plastic material in construction material, in furniture, in the paints, in food packaging, in food containers, in textiles. Even people, you know, that work out in yoga pants, and men that wear, you know, not cotton underwear, but the polyester thin stuff. There's studies that showing that when you wear these things, you are wicking into your body the chemicals, and they are showing that men and women are having fertility problems because of it. So I think it's vitally important that we change our clothing, we change everything we possibly can around our environment to really become healthy, and eat kimchi.
Kim, I got to tell you something. Over the weekend, our air conditioner went on the fritz. We called the guy, and they had to come in with the hose and blow it out and everything. And this thing that looked like a cow's hairball. I mean, it was bigger than a cat hairball. It was huge. And I asked him, what the heck is all that? And he goes, that's just the stuff in the air that the filters are bringing in and stuff. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, the carpet in your office and different things. So I understand because, and I looked at him like, that is not something that we're all just sitting here sucking in every single day. And he's like, yeah, over the course of, you know, however long it was, 6 months, whatever, since he had serviced it, I understand, because I was looking at it and going, this caught the stuff that we didn't breathe in. That was the air conditioning filter. We're walking around with our own filter, so I understand exactly what you're saying about us, you know, needing to do something about the BPA in our own body. Is that one of the reasons, and is that lead you to create Kimchi One?
Yes, and you know, Kimchi being the king of fermented foods that contains over 900 unique probiotic strains, that is the real key here. And because our gut houses 70 to 80% of our immune system, now kimchi is going to replenish the good bacteria and feed the good bacteria. Because kimchi has prebiotics in it, which is the fiber, we're able to maintain that. And so that's going to feed the good guys, which are the probiotics in our gut. It's going to replenish that good bacteria, crowd out the harmful microorganisms, and produce compounds that are going to modulate the immune responses. And because it's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antiparasitic, These guys reside in your gut. The worse you eat, the more of those critters you have in your gut. So we need to make balance in our gut. We need to get that microbiome balanced with the good guys and get rid of the fungus and the mold's overgrowth and the parasites that are there and the funguses. And the viruses. When we strengthen our immunity, we're strengthening not only the immunity in our gut, but in our whole digestive tract and even in our sinuses, because that's all connected. And on our skin, we're strengthening that. So many people that have had problems with their with eczema and other things, and even in their head, eczema is gone away. In digestion, people are commenting, I've had constipation for so long, or diarrhea, or I have bloating, or I have so much gas or belching after I eat. They eat the kimchi one, and so much smoother digestion, better skin and hair, as I said, and their metabolism speeds up. Because the kimchi, the way that it's constructed, it actually helps with losing some weight and having thicker hair and healthier hair.
Here in Hawaii, kimchi, it's a local favorite, and now a new study gives us even more reason to like kimchi. A recently published report in South Korea found that people who ate moderate amounts of kimchi daily are at a lower risk for developing obesity. The report found that Korean men who consumed 1 to 3 servings of kimchi a day are less likely to develop obesity than those who ate less than a serving per day. So there you go, pound down the kimchi.
We have hair studies and obesity studies that show that the shaft thickness increased, the hair count increased. You can, see that. And then the obesity study showed that people were losing weight around their middles. They were losing body mass. And it's just amazing what's going on with them.
So people in the fanfare community here have spoken out, and it's always in the chat every time I talk about Kimchi One. They really, really like it. And so for those in the audience here who haven't tried Kimchi One, do you have a special offer for our community?
Yes, and we want them to taste this because they're made in the USA, non-GMO. We want them to use it. We've had so many successes with it. People even that took the jab are having incredible turnarounds, losing the weight as well and losing all of those after symptoms of the jab. So yes, people, they're not getting sick as much anymore, and lots of good stories. So what we want to do is offer your viewers 25% off the order today if you will use the code Barry when you go to mybrightcore.com/Barry. You will get 25% off. But what I really want you to do is call in. Call 888-418-6738 to get 50% off your order. And you're going to get free shipping. And if you're one of the first people that call 888-418-6738, we're also going to throw in a free bottle of vitamin D3. And that's great for your overall health, your bones, everything. D3 is wonderful. So again, that's 888-418-6738. Call in and get the free shipping up to 50% off on your order and get that free bottle of vitamin D3 if you're one of the first 100.
Kim, thank you very much. You're always a bundle of information, and I'm sure people will definitely take you up on that offer. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. So who would have ever thought that some of this craziness in the Transformer community could be simply related to their food, microplastics, brain damage, and whatever jabs they're taking. It is now realistic, and it's getting out there in the mainstream. And what I found interesting is, let's go back all the way back to, last July, right before or after the assassination attempt, when they were the boys came together, Elon Musk and Trump, and I had shown you the video where Elon said it was going to basically be his mission in life to destroy the hive mind virus. I'm thinking now that all the way back then, Elon Musk absolutely knew this. he posted this morning. He goes, violent crimes per capita by transformer identifying individuals, and this will blow you away, is 10 times higher than the overall population. Large doses of artificially administered hormones should be withdrawn by the FDA. You know, I talked last night and had a little mea culpa of my own, where I talked about my past and playing football and taking anabolic steroids, and realizing myself that it was having a psychological effect as well as a performance enhancing effect. Yeah, I could bench press a house, I could deadlift a car, but I got very aggressive and I wanted to hurt people, and I had a fuse that was like that long. And so as I read this stuff from him and stuff he's obviously been digging into it because of what happened to his son, I had no idea it was 10x. And so when you hear this and you see this stuff, and after you hear what RFK Jr. said and what Kim said, and you start putting all this together, this is intentional. This isn't by accident. It just didn't happen. The Frankenstein monster is one thing we have to deal with, but we got to deal with the Frankensteins. Who did this to these kids? Who put this in their mind? Whose idea was this? That said, you know what? We're going to have all these kids decide to lop off their junk, cut off their boobs, and just become complete eunuchs of society. I have no idea. And then to not think that was going to affect them, and then to not see the numbers escalate 10x, that can't be by accident. They have done this on purpose to these children, and now they're telling us, don't pray about it. Prayer means nothing. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. This was really striking. You know, I've been following some people who have been looking into what it is this guy's words were saying in that document. And it was translated, and this came out as one of the translations. You can forget my rantings there, but this is what he wrote. I am sick of my hair. I want to chop it off. I only keep it because it is pretty much my last shred of being a transformer. I am tired of being a transformer. I wish I was never brainwashed. So did we see a young man who realized, who came to grips, maybe that pain he was talking about, maybe that, you know, that cruel world he was talking about, wasn't people making fun of him? Perhaps the cruelness he was talking about was the people who brainwashed him. Your life is going to be much better. Welcome to Cut a Nut Off Factory here. We're going to allow you to, you know, get in touch with your inner self and get rid of the part of yourself that is bothering you. You're not getting any dates? Don't worry. We'll get rid of that thing and you won't have to worry about it ever again. Can you imagine the psychological pain? I couldn't imagine what kind of pain one would go through as a man, as a boy, if all of a sudden every one of you right now in the chat who are male, and you understand where you came from playing with trucks as a little boy, or trains depending on when you grew up, and, you know, getting into schoolyard fights and everything, and having to take on the bully, which was me probably at about 9 or 10, and then playing Little League or CYO, and then graduating from there to midget football, and then going to, you know, Grant's Grammar School and playing in their league, and then, you know, go into high school, and then somewhere between there, looking over at little Mary Sue and go, hey, I don't really know what's going on, but I know Mary Sue, hey, there's something different over here. I'm starting to feel stuff. I'm starting to think that, hey, am I supposed to talk to her. All the things we grew up with. We didn't know what was happening. And then the first time we sprouted the Jack in the Box, like, hey, what is that? What is that? These are all things, I guess now looking back as a 65-year-old man, we took for granted. We knew our friends were going through the same thing because they told you. Sometimes you had crazy friends like, look! Yeah, I had a couple of those. Look at what happened. Dude, do something about that. And we just thought it was a rite of passion. Here we're going. Oh, I guess we're different now, huh? Yeah, got to watch out for that thing. Things happen. And you grow up. And then you meet somebody and you go to the prom or the sophomore formal, and then you go to the junior and then the senior prom, and then stuff happens. And now I want you to go all the way back, do the quick rewind to where you're at that 7 or 8 years old and you're just beginning to play Little League, and somebody goes, what if you played on the other team? What do you mean? You don't really look like you want to be with these people. What if we just change you and let your hair grow out and you can wear my high heels? And no, it wasn't an option. What has happened since the time we grew up to where now it's like, yeah, let me give that a shot. It didn't happen. This was intentional. You saw the graph yesterday. Boom. Statistical impossibility. Somewhere, somehow, whether it's Trump, RFK Jr., Tulsi, I don't care. Somebody's got to dig into this stuff and find out, what did you do to these kids? See, social media allowed it to be promoted. Social media didn't start it. Social media allowed it, tried to allow it to be accepted. Oh, there's other freaks out there. Oh yeah, there's freaks like me. That's all that did. But the normal person just didn't wake up one morning and went, I want to do full Costanza. And here's Our Lady.
Good afternoon. Good to see all of you. I want to begin today's briefing by addressing the horrific shooting that took place yesterday at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where a deranged shooter opened fire during morning mass, killing an innocent 8-year-old and 10-year-old. 14 other children and 3 adults were also injured during this horrible tragedy. This was the first morning mass of the school year for these beautiful, innocent children, and this sacred religious service was desecrated by an evil monster. We are all eternally grateful to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders whose courage and swift response aided all of those impacted by this horrible tragedy. As Director Kash Patel confirmed yesterday, the FBI is currently investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday following his call with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-mast. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join all of us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. The White House and the FBI will continue to provide further updates as they become available. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for you today. The President will travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, September 23rd. On another matter, as Americans make their Labor Day weekend travel plans, they will be able to enjoy 5-year low gas prices thanks to President Trump fully unleashing American energy dominance. President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable again. These savings at the pump are giving everyday American families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always. For decades, the hardworking men and women of our country who built the greatest nation in world history were sold out by selfish, greedy, short-sighted globalists who put our country on a path to economic and cultural ruin. They hollowed out our factories and towns and betrayed the American working class by shipping jobs overseas and importing millions of low-wage migrants to replace American workers. Under President Trump, this national disgrace is over. American workers are, once again, being put at the center of national trade policy, and the dignity of American labor is being defended. As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill them. In fact, since President Trump took office, the economy has added more than 500,000 new jobs to the workforce. In a stark reversal from the Biden administration, all of that job creation has been driven by private sector growth, and all employment gains have gone to native-born Americans. Wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in the past 60 years. And the average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year alone. Thanks to the largest middle tax cuts ever signed into law by President Trump, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, Americans in all 50 states will keep more of their hard-earned money. The average American taxpayer will see a tax cut of nearly $4,000 because of these pro-growth provisions, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. In other news, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to restore law and order to our nation's capital. Since President Trump's intervention, there have been more than 1,283 arrests right here in the District of Columbia. Total crime in D.C. is down 19%, and violent crime is down 30%. Carjackings in the district are down 67%. Homicides are down 57%. Robberies are down 40%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 32%. And assaults with dangerous weapons are down 23%. And property crime is down 18%. These numbers prove the president's bold actions to make D.C. safe and beautiful again are working, just like he said they would. And that's why on Monday, the president took additional action to sign an executive order taking steps to ensure that cashless bail in Washington, D.C. is eliminated. For too long, D.C.'s reckless cashless bail policies have allowed dangerous criminals to be quickly released, which endangers everyone who lives in and visits our wonderful capital. No cash bail has also foolishly forced law enforcement to repeatedly arrest the same offenders over and over again, only for them to be released back into our nation's capital. This is the definition of insanity, and the president is seeking to end it. He also signed a separate executive order addressing the crime emergency in D.C. by instructing the National Park Service to hire additional United States Park Police officers to support public safety, and directing the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. to hire additional prosecutors to focus solely on violent and property crimes. So while liberal Democrats across the country continue to double down on their failed soft-on-crime approach, the American people, including local D.C. leadership, business owners, and residents, are rallying behind President Trump's crime crackdown. According to new polling, 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country. And a clear majority of Americans believe the president's actions are justified and necessary to reduce crime in these cities. Indu Bhatia, who runs a liquor store a half mile from the White House here just down the street, is one of those Americans who are grateful for President Trump's public safety push. Indu recently told the New York Post that her store was robbed so many times that they had to spend exorbitant sums of money on security, jeopardizing her family's financial future. But thanks to President Trump's strong action, Indu said, quote, "All of my employees, including me, we feel much safer, and even our customers feel really happy when they walk into our store." And just yesterday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump for surging federal law enforcement personnel and said neighborhoods, quote, "feel and are much safer." We thank Mayor Bowser for her cooperation and her willingness to help us make D.C. safe and beautiful. This entire effort has vindicated what President Trump and law and order advocates have been saying for years. And this is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice. You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades. The President Trump approach of upholding law and order by letting our brave men and women in blue actually do their jobs to aggressively fight crime works. In just a few weeks, President Trump has done more for DC residents than Democrats did in 50 years. And this can be replicated in other crime-ridden cities across the nation. As President Trump has said, all of these elected officials in charge have to do is pick up the phone and ask for the president and the federal government's help. President Trump doesn't care if they are a Republican or a Democrat leader. He wants Americans to be safe and for every law-abiding American citizen across the country to be able to thrive in their city and in their community. With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Well, Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making the sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. You know, anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances, and so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again, and I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will. Gabe, and thanks for being here, Brandon. Gabe.
Caroline, thank you so much. First, on the firing of the CDC director,
Sure.
Who will replace her? And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do wrong?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't, so the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. A new replacement will be announced by either the president or the secretary very soon. And the president and Secretary Kennedy are committed to restoring trust and transparency and credibility to the CDC by ensuring their leadership and their decisions are more public-facing, more accountable, strengthening our public health system, and restoring it to its core mission of protecting Americans from communicable diseases, investing in innovation to prevent, detect, and respond to future threats. That's the mission of the CDC, and we're going to make sure that folks that are in positions of leadership there are aligned with that mission.
And briefly on another topic, alligator Alcatraz. Last week, a judge on an environmental concerns lawsuit said that the administration had 60 days to wind down operations there, state officials did. Now, the administration has not been shy in fighting back against what it calls activist judges, but why is it backing down this time?
We're not backing down. We've always said that we are going to continue to fight in the court of law for what's right, because we know that what this administration is doing with respect to all policy, but also immigration policy, is above the books, and we're abiding by our nation's immigration laws. And we think it's despicable that an activist judge has inserted themselves in this migrant detention facility to the point where DHS is now having to relocate these illegal immigrants to other detention facilities around the country. That is an unnecessary burden on the Department of Homeland Security and these agents who should be removing these criminals from our community. That's what the American people elected this president to do. So we've always maintained, Gabe, we're going to comply with court orders, but we're also going to fight back on them on the merits of the law. And DHS is in compliance while we disagree with this decision, and we'll continue to fight it in court. Let's go to...
Hey,
go ahead.
Thanks so much. So just following up on the CDC firing.
Sure.
Are you anticipating other changes there at CDC in addition to that firing? And is the administration going through in a very sort of organized fashion? Is there a task force that's going through high-level appointees to see who is or isn't aligned with the mission? Like, should we expect more changes?
Not to my knowledge. I understand there were a few other individuals who resigned after the firing of Ms. Monarez. One of those individuals wrote in his departure statement that he identifies pregnant women as pregnant people. So that's not someone who we want in this administration anyway. So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
Karoline, can I just
go to the back?
Thank you, Karoline.
Go behind you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Karoline. The military deployment that President Trump has sent to the Caribbean Sea close to the shores with Venezuela is massive. It's much more that is needed to simply counter narcotics operations. Is President Trump considering launching military strikes to military installments or facilities in Venezuelan soil?
I won't get ahead of the president with respect to any military action or questions about that ever. But what I will tell you is that many Caribbean nations and many nations in the region have applauded the administration's counter-drug operations and efforts, and the president is prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. And as I've said from this podium before, the Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. Maduro is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this drug cartel. He has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into our country, and it is the utmost responsibility of this president and this administration to prevent the illicit flow of drugs into our country and to protect citizens from those deadly poisons. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves, who need it right now more than ever.
My second question for you is that there have been media outlets who have glazed over the fact that the shooter was confused in their gender identity. Does the administration believe that this element needs to be investigated in the shooting?
All of the elements are being investigated in the shooting, absolutely. Which is why part of the reason the FBI director came out and immediately confirmed that facet of the investigation. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions on two separate issues. First of all, the drone and missile strikes that took place overnight in Ukraine. General Keith Kellogg, the president's special envoy, has described these attacks as egregious. Do you agree with that description, and do you view President Putin as an impediment to getting peace between these two countries?
Well, it's not about if I agree, it's about what the president thinks, and I know what the president thinks because I talked to him about this. He was not happy about this news, but he was also not surprised. These are two countries that have been at war for a very long time. Russia launched this attack on Kyiv, and likewise, Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently, and this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues, which is why the president wants it to end. And that's why he's worked harder than anyone to end this war, which would have never started if he were president. But perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves. The president wants it to end, but the leaders of these two countries need it to end and want it to end, must want it to end as well. And I think the president will make some additional statements on this later.
My second question has to do with,
Carrie.
I just had one more, if I may. It has to do with the president's intention to remove Lisa Cook as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. He is going or acting upon allegations that have been made by Trump administration official Bill Pulte. These are just allegations. She hasn't been convicted yet of any crime. Is the administration opposed to allowing Ms. Cook to have due process, to challenge what has been alleged against her?
I believe she is challenging it. I believe she just filed a lawsuit today, and Mr. Pulte has deferred those allegations over to the Department of Justice to investigate them. What I will say is that you had these mortgage receipts very clearly shown to the president, and he has the cause that he needs to fire this individual. He laid it out in the letter that he provided to her and to the public as well. And so we'll continue to fight this battle. Carrie.
Hi, Caroline. So the president just announced that he wants to have a convention right before the midterms next year. The DNC has countered that they too want to have a convention right before the midterms as well. What's the White House's response to that? And can you give us just a little bit of a hint or a tease here as to how the president envisions a convention in the for the midterms?
Look, the president put out a statement on this earlier today. I'll let him speak further on the plans that he envisions, but I think he's very proud of the accomplishments and the achievements of his administration, as he should be. The most secure border in United States history, a crackdown on crime here in our nation's capital, an attack or a reversal of the attack on our energy industry from the previous administration. As I just pointed out to you, gas prices today, this Labor Day, are the lowest they've been since Labor Day in 2020. Our economy is bringing in trillions of dollars in revenue from all over the world again. So there's so much for Republicans and for the president and for Americans across the country to be proud of, and I think the president wants to see that celebrated. But for any further details on this as they come, we'll provide you with them. Iris.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions on the shooting. What's the administration's message to some concerned parents across the country who might be now worried about their kids' safety in light of the latest incident?
We completely and totally understand the concerns of parents across the country. This tragedy it's heartbreaking. As a parent myself, there are no words to describe just the heartbreak that these families must be enduring, which is why the president and the first lady have encouraged everyone to continue to pray for these families and these victims. And it's why this administration is focused on removing public safety threats from our communities. And in fact, I can share with all of you that last night in Washington, D.C., when arrests were being made, there was an arrest of a juvenile right here in D.C. in Ward 7 for threats to kidnap and injure, receiving stolen property, possession of a large capacity feeding device, unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. A search warrant was executed, 7 firearms were recovered, and the juvenile was arrested after an investigation was initiated based on social media posts allegedly threatening violence towards a school. So this was a juvenile who was a risk to not just himself, but the community here in Washington, and he was removed from the community last night because of the law enforcement efforts of this administration. And I would also point to the statement of our wonderful First Lady that she released yesterday. She wrote, "The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. We encourage all Americans, as the old saying goes, if you see something, say something. If you see warning signs or threats, report it to law enforcement." This administration, federal law enforcement, will take those reports and those threats seriously. They will be treated as a law enforcement emergency, and we will act accordingly.
And on the First Lady's statement, would the administration consider ramping up resources on these fronts to parents and schools across the country to help them look into these signs and prevent more tragedies?
It's a very fair question, Iris. As for any potential future policy decisions or funding questions, it's just been over 24 hours since this tragedy occurred. Right now, we're focused on the FBI and their investigation and uncovering all the facts, and we'll leave those very important policy discussions to another day.
Thank you, Caroline.
Go ahead. Megan.
I had a question about the Lisa Cook lawsuit that you mentioned.
Sure.
Does the president plan to wait until that lawsuit is resolved to appoint her replacement?
I will leave that to the president to make that decision in that announcement himself. Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. Bouncing off the CDC situation with CDC. I'm curious if administration officials are pushing back on the president's agenda, privately, publicly, however, should they fear to lose their jobs going forward?
Look, I think if you're doing your job well, and if you are executing on the vision and the promises that the president made to the public who elected him back to this office, then you should have no fear about your job. Just do your job. That's what this president wants to see. He wants to see people solving problems. He wants to see the people who have the privilege of serving the American taxpayer and the federal government abiding by the wishes of the American taxpayers who overwhelmingly reelected him in this cabinet to make America great again, or in this case, make America healthy again.
On the Intel deal, where the U.S. got a stake in that company, there's two things I want to ask about that. The first is, what did the U.S. get back in return for that deal? And the second thing is, what are the future plans for giving any form of money to another company? It could be through the CHIPS Act, like this deal, or some other form of funds. What are the plans there by this White House administration?
Well, look, as you know, Brian, very well, because you cover it often, the Intel deal is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce. The T's are still being crossed, the I's are still being dotted. It's very much still under discussion. But the president's thinking, I can share with you, is certainly to ensure that the United States government is making our country wealthy again and is benefiting from some of these deals. And it's a creative solution. I know it's outside the box thinking, which is uncommon in this city, but it's something that he proposed and something that the Secretary of Commerce is working on putting into action. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a couple questions on the shooting yesterday. The first one, this is the second shooting involving a trans-identifying shooter who specifically targeted Christians and Catholic kids. What kind of consequences do the gender-affirming therapists, doctors, or even the parents of these shooters face after these types of shootings?
Well, as for the parents and potential therapists in this case, again, all of that is still currently being investigated by the FBI. I know the Secretary of Health and Human Services this morning said that HHS is investigating perhaps links between some of these drugs and these prescription drugs that some of these minors may be taking and an increase in violence. And obviously we have mental health problems in this country that this administration and Secretary Kennedy will continue to speak out about in the work that we're doing to solve it.
Thank you. And just to follow up, I've seen a lot of calls for action, among these lawmakers saying that we shouldn't just be praying. One that I've seen on the right, actually, is calls for the FBI to institute a new class of domestic terrorism that involves trans ideology. Is that something that the administration would support?
I would have to check with the appropriate people on that.
Caroline.
Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. We saw some new revised economic data come out today showing the U.S. economy grew at a 3.3% clip, largely buoyed by a surge in capex. What's the White House reaction to this, and is this sort of the president's vision beginning to come to life after the Big Beautiful Bill was passed in July?
Yes, I mean, look, we did say that once the Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law, we're going to see the effects of this massive pro-growth piece of legislation. As I laid out for you as we head into the Labor Day weekend, there's many positive economic indicators that the American people can be hopeful about. But don't forget, we are reversing 4 years of reckless spending from the previous administration, of slamming regulations down the throats of American business owners and consumers across the country. But the administration is working very hard to unravel all of that and to ensure that small business owners and workers are thriving and that they have more money in their own pockets to spend. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Back on the CDC, there was reporting that some of the initial problems between RFK and the CDC director stemmed from miscommunications or differences on vaccine policy. So I wonder if you could just say whether or not the president believes that the COVID vaccine should be available to and covered by insurance for all Americans, regardless of age and pre-existing conditions.
What I will tell you is that the FDA recently revoked the emergency use authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas. The reason for the revocation of that emergency use authorization is because obviously the COVID pandemic and the public health emergency is over. But just to correct the record, because there's been a lot of misinformation on this, the FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice. That's a promise both the president and the secretary have made, and it's a promise they have now delivered on.
Question, if I could, Caroline. Second question, if I could. Sorry. I wonder if you could answer why the president hasn't acknowledged the shooting at CDC headquarters that took place earlier in August, where a police officer was killed, and it was reported that the motivation for the shooting was somebody who was really unhappy with the effects of the COVID vaccine.
We absolutely were very much aware of that shooting. The Secretary of Health and Human Services put out a statement immediately. He was in touch with the CDC, and he actually traveled to Georgia to assess the situation and to mourn with the people who work in that building there. So, go ahead.
With respect to Labor Day, one of the most underrepresented groups right now are police officers. 30,000 police officers short in America right now. To Brandon's question, 1,300 short in Chicago, 3,000 short in New York, 500 short here in Washington, D.C. What can the White House, what can the president do to help recruitment of police officers? He's done well with the military and Border Patrol. What can be done to get more police officers on the streets of America?
Well, the president has certainly been very successful in recruiting federal law enforcement. If you look at the ICE recruitment campaign that was led by he and our Secretary of Homeland Security, we've seen more than, I believe, 130,000 applicants to join ICE, which is just amazing. There's more applicants now than there are jobs to fill, and we're very grateful for that. Clearly, Americans want to serve their communities. They just need a leader who encourages them to do so. So maybe Governor Pritzker should spend less time demonizing the police, more time trying to recruit more police, and more time trying to call the President of the United States to get crime in his city under control. The President wants to allow law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, to do their jobs, to arrest criminals, to put them behind bars, and to remove public safety threats from American communities. He'll continue to do that. Thank you, guys.
Well, that was quick. Wow. Just come in and do some spanking, I guess. Wow. She just came through and just decided like a whirlwind. What's that Miley Cyrus song? Came in like a wrecking ball for sure. I don't think they even expected that she was just going to come in and do something that quickly, which tells me something. It tells me that the Trump administration is over these people, completely over, which I'm good with. Wow. That was crazy quick. All right, so before I go any further, I've got something I want to show you from Judge Janine, but let's take a pause for the cause here, okay? Today's show is brought to you by Juvenon. Are you feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation. so you'll feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. It's packed with natural ingredients like nitrocygine, I hope I said that correctly, S7, and trans resveratrol. Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. And that means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even those places that might need a little extra help as you age.
They call it a lifting. They also use another word, but I'm not going to use that word. You know what that is? The word, it starts with an E. You know what the word is? If I ever used it, I'd be run out of town by you people. Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that President Trump incited an erection.
Explanation was not they didn't like Donald Trump. They said he participated in an erection.
With just one dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without any caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. All right, so Karoline touched on something I want to bring back to your attention so you know this is going to happen. When she mentioned in the press conference what President Trump is going to be doing. Said President Trump is set to travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations General Assembly. Nick says Trump's going to give the globalists absolute hell straight to their faces. This is going to be amazing. Ooh, yeah, and that I almost wonder if I should get up on a plane and fly up to New York, because that is going to be absolutely crazy. There are going to be protesters all over the place. I mean, but then again, the traffic in New York can't get much worse, but it would be absolutely nuts. Also, something I talked to you about earlier is beginning to take some traction, because now that the deciphering of this manifesto has been put out there, a lot of people are picking up on this thing I showed you earlier. Remember, I showed you this. Where is it? Yeah, where he said, I wish I was never brainwashed myself. And of course, the media doesn't want to talk about it. That never came up. In fact, I don't even know if the manifesto came up at all. They don't want you to know that this stuff is out there. They didn't talk about the videos. I just realized that. All the questions, nobody brought up the videos. Nobody brought up the manifesto and what he said. Nobody brought up what he wrote on the magazine cartridges. None of that was discussed. And that is talked about that way because they don't want people to know it. If the regular people know it, the media's narrative falls completely apart. Especially this part. Especially someone saying, I wish I was never brainwashed myself. Ooh, because you know what happens if people see that? Do you realize what happens if more and more people see that? Which should be your incentive to share it. Because there are going to be a lot of trans kids who hang out on X who are going to say, because it's going to make you think, wait a minute, was I brainwashed? Charlie Kirk just pushed it out to his big following. It says, breaking. Well, it's not really breaking, dude. I already broke it. Minneapolis school shooter, Robin Westman, whatever the name, confessed he was tired of being a transformer and he wished he had never brainwashed himself. The evil perpetrated on young people by this medical industry is something future generations will look upon with horror, and I will add the word disdain. Absolute disdain that you've treated these kids, our kids, like lab rats. The food, the soy, making them not want to date, making them not want to procreate, make them want to run away and become walking zombies for a Democrat Party. That's this. I can't forgive this. This I cannot forgive you. This is a bit much what you've done to these kids. So he put that out. You heard this morning as we went through the RFK Jr. stuff about the hormones and all of the microplastics and the jabs and the SSRIs and everything. And now it's coming to the surface. Excuse me. Michael Flynn Jr. said this. Enough of this ideology BS. Shut down every single affirming care facility in the nation. No more injecting hormones into our effing children. Yes, get mad. Get mad. Get angry. Because if you get mad and you get angry, then you will do something about it. And these kids, at this point, we need to understand, we need to save them. And thank you, SV, for posting that post as well. What else you got here? Remember when the Panikin said, I love this one, President Trump was killing tourism. In the first 6 months of the year, international visitors spent $127 billion. Let that sink in. People have come here in droves in just the first couple months and have spent $127 billion. All we needed was a new president. That's all. That's all we needed. You know, at 2:30, I've got the ladies from Chicago Flip Red coming on, which I'm sure you're going to love hearing from them. They live in Chicago. They're actually in the areas. They're going to tell you what it's really like, not what the media wants you to think it's like. Next thing SB sent me. U.S. soldiers and airmen with Joint Task Force D.C., JTF D.C., part of the 2,500 guardsmen activated to support President Trump's D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, were seen carrying out landscaping work at McPherson Square Park near the White House. Now, see, I got a problem with that. Here's my problem. It's the same problem many of you probably have experienced. One of the things I hate the most, I don't know, it just kind of gets to me, is you driving on the freeway someplace, anywhere, and you pull off the freeway, and it just looks like a war zone here. Like, what is all this overgrown grass and crap and garbage and everything else? And I'm like, who's responsible for cleaning this up? You know, people, even myself, with my problems with Disney, and I don't like Disney and what they've turned into, but when I worked for Disney, one of the things, the very first things you notice when you make that turn into Disney is like, wow, it's all clean. It's absolutely clean. Everywhere you go, it's clean. I don't know if you've ever gone down Lake Buena Vista Boulevard and you actually pull into Hotel Plaza Boulevard, and as you're going down that road to get to what used to be downtown Disney and Pleasure Island, I don't know what it's called now, and you turn down that road off of 538, whatever it is, and you turn down, it's like, you realize you just went to someplace else. You realize as soon as you get there, wow, this is different, isn't it? Yep, it's different. Did you know that they even went as far, and this is something I learned during my cast member training, that when they built the parks, and now I'm going to tell you something now, it's going to ruin you. It's going to ruin you. You're going to remember this and go, Barry did that to me. When you walk into the Magic Kingdom, you are going to notice very quickly, now that I'm telling you this, most of the garbage cans initially are on the right. The reason being is they did psychological studies and figured most people are coming this way or coming out. People going in are on the right. And so they placed the trash receptacles as you're winding around predominantly on the right side of the park. Notice it the next time you go in. It's like, and they're equidistant. Every so many steps, there's another garbage can. They even went through, way back when, and counted how many steps the average person takes before they have to discard something. Whether they're licking on a lollipop or eating a hot dog or drinking a soda, how many steps that person has taken before they discard something. I digressed because for some reason, one of my pet peeves is garbage. I hate garbage. So much so, if I'm walking past something, I will pick up garbage. And I don't understand animals who are eating something and just toss it. You purchase something, you ate it, and you're letting somebody else pick up your crap. And they're using these soldiers because Muriel Bowser failed in a way that not a lot of people are talking about. Stevie Wonder said it, just because you're poor doesn't mean you have to be dirty. People in the hood haven't been taught cleanliness. Pick up your own stuff as you're walking. It's not someone else's job to pick up your discarded whatever. And so the fact that we have to have our National Guard go into Washington and clean up your stuff, there's another failure that nobody talks about. That is just one more failure that won't even show up as a blip in the media. Thank you, SB, for sending that to me, because that's very important. Nobody thinks about that part of it. When you walk through parts of these big cities, they look like crap. It's like, man, is anybody going to sweep this shit up? I never understood in New York how you have these garbage strikes and the rats are running around and garbage is 4 or 5 feet high. Literally, rats. I had a buddy one time, we went to New York and he had to pee. And he made the mistake of like thinking he was going in an alley and he went to go pee and he stirred up some rats and he had an entire trail of rats running over his feet. He screamed like a little girl. I don't understand uncleanliness. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's not a phobic type thing or manic. I just don't understand. But at the same time, my wife says I'm a slob. So I don't know. Just saying. But anyway, where was I? All right. So what did SB just send me something else here? What do you got, SB? Or is this from Ashley? Hold on. This is from Ashley. She says that, okay, as we continue to investigate yesterday's barbaric attack from Mr. Westman, the male subject, our teams have gathered information and evidence demonstrating this was an act of domestic terrorism motivated by a hate-filled ideology. Uh-oh! I haven't read the rest of this. Uh-oh! Some updates. Subject left multiple anti-Catholic, anti-religious references both in his manifesto and written on his firearms. Subject expressed hatred and violence towards Jewish people, writing Israel must fall, free Palestine, and using explicit language related to the Holocaust. He wrote an explicit call for violence against President Trump on a firearm magazine. The FBI investigation is still ongoing. We will employ all of our counter-terror tools to ensure this is fully investigated and deterred. And as promised, we will continue to update when able to. And of course, the first comment is some libnut. Have you tried not giving people guns? Maybe that's the thing. Y'all, save your breath. No one's taking away anybody's weapons. It can't happen, okay? Just stop with that insanity. But now, I love that now twice we've had, yesterday, Kristi Noem, I believe it was, and now Kash Patel, and they're telling people about it, but they're not showing it. Kash, you should have put up a whole big, gallery of pictures and video and let people see it. It was taken down off of YouTube. As I said yesterday, why would they take it down? Why would they have taken down everything? The video wasn't going to jump off the page and bother anybody. Who is it offensive to? You know how they always say things, they put warning labels on it? Who's offended by what he wrote? Because if you're offended by what he wrote and what he said and what he showed, what you're doing is trying to protect people and keep their brainwashing in place. All the rest of us are like, man, this is crazy. That's crazy. That's satanic. That's bad. But you don't want other people like him, her, whatever, to feel that same compulsion. They don't want people to wake from the slumber. They need to keep these people walking in line. Let's not even talk about it. Let's not even address it. let's pretend it never happened. You turn on any of these stations and nobody's talking about it, which tells you you need to be talking about it. Absolutely need to be talking about it, because who else is going to? We don't have a real media. And before I get ready for the ladies to come on at 2:30, gotta show you something. I can't play it here because it's music and it's copyrighted, but I will play it tonight. And I just wanted you to see that. I wrote this. I went, holy fliggin' schlit. President Trump posted this. This is the calm of all calms. This is the Moab of calms. The time is now. It's on. Let's effing go. And the music here, I'll play the whole song tonight. I'll show this video, and then I'll play the entirety of the song. But the song is called The Rooster by Alice in Chains. And, well, you can't hear it, but I'll play the initial lines. They haven't found a way to kill me yet. You know what? Better than that, just to give you a preview of it, let's do it this way so that I can actually show it to you and you can see it yourself. Where's the lyrics? Where's the lyrics? And I'm sure people will reach out to the songwriters and like, did you know Trump was going to use your song? Oh my God, what are we going to do? Trump used your song. All right. If this isn't a message, I don't know what it is. All right, so let me just show you guys right now. Here we go. All right. Ain't found a way to kill me yet. My eyes burn with stinging sweat. Seems every path leads me to nowhere. Wife and kids, household pet. Army green was no safe bet. The bullets scream to me from somewhere. Here they come to snuff the rooster. And then he cut all the way to this verse. You know, he ain't gonna die. No, no, no. You know, he ain't gonna die. And I saw that this morning and I went, did he just post that? Did he just post? Did he just post what I think he posted? The hardcore metal band, well, I don't know if they're hardcore, but they're metal band, and he played the Rooster, the same band who has this song that freaks people out, Man in the Box. Those two songs, Man in the Box and Rooster. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then you get, later on, you got another verse where he says, I'm walking tall, machine gun man. They spit on me in my homeland. Oh God, please, won't you help me make it through? Oh, I didn't have it on. Okay, but anyway, you guys get it. And then the last verse, I just want you to see the last verse. Here they come to snuff the rooster. Yeah, here comes the rooster. You know he ain't gonna die. No, you ain't. You know he ain't gonna die. And he posted that, I think, last night. But the video that they play with it, I can show you that. Like, again, I can't show you the song, but oh crap! I just deleted it. Oh, hold on, 1 second. Let me pull it up. I should have went back on my browser instead of just doing that. But you'll hear the song in its entirety tonight. And hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up so I can show you what it looks like. All right, here's the actual video. And you can probably go to my profile and pull it up, and you'll see it there. Here it goes. Okay. And this is the actual video. Okay, hold on. This is the video, but I can't play the sound here. And just imagine the words I just showed you. Here comes a rooster. They ain't found a way to kill me yet. And that's, the bullets come screaming. That's that part right there you're seeing. And then the end of he's talking over the video and he's talking over the music, and he go like, God put me in this spot. And just look at the imagery here as you're watching this. Look at what he's showing. And then where it gets to. You'll see. It's the reason why he picked that part with the ear still bandaged. And when you're hearing the music as you're watching this, it's so compelling. It's so compelling. And the thing. So to me, this was definitely, once again, another Tom. He's not playing. He's not playing whatsoever. And then right there he's saying, you know, God saved my life for this. Powerful. Very, very powerful. What did SB just say? Hold on. I got to get ready for the ladies. Let me just check SB's message. JD will deliver. Oh boy. Now we got JD getting ready. Well, I can't take JD because I've got the ladies coming up. So unless he gets done before they do, if he gets done before they do, I can do that. So also something that Karoline Leavitt said: arrest almost 1,300, violent crime down 30%, carjackings down 67, homicides down 57, robberies down 40. Car thefts 32, assault with weapons down 23, and property crime down 18%. That sounds good. It ain't good enough. And I'm sure, having seen what we've seen from President Trump, that's not good enough. I don't want to be down 18% on anything. I want to be down 70%. I want to be down 80%. I want to stop this stuff. That's what I want to see happening. And to the point that it's still happening that way is kind of crazy. So I'm looking at J.D. Vance's stage. He's in Wisconsin getting ready to do a stage. Let me see if I can pull it up elsewhere. I'll take a shot at it. By the way, the economy is really moving good. Well, I'm not sure if you've seen the different economy news. We're going to cover some of that tonight as well. But I keep telling you, now is the time to plan for what's about to happen. Don't wait for September and have a rate cut and see the market take off without you having a seat on this rocket.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. So this is one of those days when I'm crying because I wish I had my studio set up. So here's what's going on. I've got J.D. Vance getting ready to walk on stage. I've got some sort of event getting ready to happen in Minneapolis where the trans shooter was. And then I've got ladies coming on at 2:30. So we got all kinds of stuff happening. All right, let's cut to this in the interim. JD, when JD comes on, I'll cut to him.
Families in Minneapolis are mourning. Our Greater Annunciation Fellowship is mourning. Our entire city is united in grief, and at the same time, based on this incredible group of people that has assembled here in City Hall, we are also united in action. We are committed to not having this be the scenario where another politician comes up to say never again. Another person stands in front of a microphone to announce a horribly tragic and unspeakable situation where more family members have been killed. We are committed to making this time different. And we have so many residents around our city and around our state that are 100% united to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. Of course we're standing up with love. Of course we're standing up with thoughts and with prayers. But thoughts and prayers are not going to cut it. It's on all of us to see this through so that there is an action, so that something like this never happens again. We need action at the federal level. We need action at the state level. We need coordination with the cities around the country to make sure that every person has this common foundation of safety where they can send their kid off to school and have the confidence that they will be safe. Think of these kids not as somebody else's, but as your own. Think of those last words that you had with your child just this morning before you sent them into school. You kissed them on the cheek, you got them set up with their shoes, you pushed them a pouch of applesauce. Maybe these were little annoyances, but the truth is that there's this common and beautiful thing. We love our children. Make these changes not out of hate. Make them out of a simple and beautiful foundational love for our kids. And so what are we talking about? When we talk about action, we need to talk about the action steps that need to take place. We need a statewide and a federal ban on assault weapons. We need a statewide and a federal ban on high-capacity magazines. There is no reason that someone should be able to reel off 30 shots before they even have to reload. We're not talking about your father's hunting rifle here. We're talking about guns that are built to pierce armor and kill people. Why do we have them coming in by the trunk loads onto our streets around the country? And this is not just about Minneapolis. Because you can buy an assault rifle in Milwaukee, and that assault rifle is in Minneapolis by noon that very same day. And so when we talk about the work that needs to be done, it's going to take a whole lot of unity from a lot of different cities, and I've gotten calls from their mayors who have experienced virtually the same thing that we experienced yesterday. And because we love our kids, because we love our families, because we love our constituents, we all have the obligation to act. And what you see here, you see federal congresswomen. You see we see our Minneapolis state delegation. You have council members from both Minneapolis and St. Paul. You have our sheriff. You have Moms Demand Action, Protect Minnesota, and every town all united and rallying around a common theme, which is keeping our cities and our country safe. And here's the thing. To the extent the federal government isn't willing to do it, to the extent a divided legislature prevents our state from acting, and by the way, I know that our Minneapolis delegation is on board with this work because they've been doing it. Thank you. But here's the final ask. To the extent other levels of government are either unwilling or unable to keep cities safe, let us do it ourselves. We are responsible for 435,000 residents that call Minneapolis home and many more that come and go. I think we'd be happy to ban assault rifles here in Minneapolis. I know we'd be happy to prevent a next mass shooting from taking place. We have every obligation, not just to each other, but to these families that call Minneapolis home. We love them. Let's love them with more than words. Let's love them with the kind of action that will forever make the difference for people in our city. So the next go round, there's not another city 2 months from now that is saying the same damn thing. Let's stop this from happening. Let's stand up for our children. Let's stand up for each and every one of them. So it takes a whole team to pack this hall, to put these events together, but more importantly, to do the kind of long-term advocacy that results in change. I mentioned a number of groups that are here, and I have the honor, and please give her a very warm welcome, of welcoming up Moms Demand Action, an exceptional volunteer in Lear.
Thank you. As the mayor said, my name's Leah Condis. I lead the Minneapolis local group of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. But today, I'm not here just as an advocate. I'm here as a mom. I have 3 daughters. One of them has already lived through shootings at both the mall and the state fair. And I'm a Catholic. I forgot to mention that part. Now, here in our own city, families are living through the nightmare of a shooting on the very first day of school. Annunciation Catholic School should have been a sanctuary, a place where kids laugh with their friends, teachers prepared lessons, parents feel safe dropping their children off in the morning. Instead, gunfire tore through those doors. Children were gunned down in church, praying in their place of worship. Another school year begins, and once again, it is marked by gun violence. And this is not an isolated incident. Less than 24 hours before this tragedy, there was another shooting here in Minneapolis. And in that case, an AR-15 style assault weapon was used. These are weapons of war, and they are tearing through our communities over and over again. We cannot call ourselves...
You know what else is tearing through your communities? The vacuuming of young children being ripped out of wombs. And you're a Catholic, but you're okay with that? Yeah, you liar. I don't understand how you can say that you are a certain type of person, but look away from all that. It's just the guns. Well, at least the gun, the inanimate object, isn't doing the stuff in your cities. That's not the one that's doing it. It's sickening. It's absolutely disgusting. I see Ilhan Omar sitting there. I can't with these people. These people just make me absolutely ill. I just makes me want to puke because they're such hypocrites. Unreal. So the ladies from Chicago Flip Red are about to come on, but before they get here, I guess I'll have JD's thing for later. But I want you to hear this as a lead-in to them coming on.
All right, Danielle Carter-Walters is a South Side Chicago resident. She's also the co-founder of Chicago Flips Red. And Danielle, good to see you on the show. Your mayor, Brandon Johnson, said that the people of Chicago are going to rise up against tyranny if the president makes any moves to try and clean up your city. How do you think people in your neighborhood are going to respond if that happens?
Well, we have had 4 mass shootings in the span of 1 month. One of those mass shootings, we had 14 people shot, 4 people lost their lives. Also, we had senior citizens with the other mass shooting, shot, lying in the streets bleeding. So how is it, wait a minute, let's not forget the gentleman that was robbed and murdered on Facebook Live just a week ago. So for this mayor, incompetent mayor, and let's just be clear, he's inciting a riot. So I think he needs to be arrested for that. Because remember, they said President Trump, because he said go peaceably protest, he incited a riot. So that's what he's doing. So listen, we are tired of our kids and family members dying in the streets. We are tired of looking over coffins of our family members. Enough is enough. We're tired.
I can't even fathom. But the whole narrative around this from the other side is so ridiculous. I mean, they are acting like there is no problem, and that this is some kind of a power grab by the president to try and send troops into these cities just to make them livable again, and to have. I don't understand how these politicians have the audacity to pretend like there is no issue. What you just described is chaos. I mean, you're living in a city that is far more dangerous than many major third world cities around the world. And it's Chicago, Illinois. I mean, that's the craziest part about it.
Listen, we're known as Chirac. Chirac, yes. And what do Brandon Johnson and Pritzker? They have no solutions. Well, yes, they do. They have soft on crime policies. You know, the Safety Act and the no cash bail.
Yeah.
That's all they have to offer us. And let's not forget the manipulated fake numbers that they're giving you, talking about crime is down. Crime is not down. Crime is probably down for Brandon Johnson because he has 150 police detail that's police detail. So yeah, crime is probably down for him. So let's ask Brandon Johnson, since Chicago is so safe and crime is down, why don't he get rid of that 150 police detail that he has and walk around with no police details? He should be feeling safe since that's what he wants us to do.
The solutions to this are unbelievable. What they proffer as solutions, what he thinks is going to control violent crime, basically like let's have therapy sessions to help people get over trauma in their lives, so that'll make people less violent. This is what was offered by his campaign. I mean, it sounded like he was a kindergarten teacher that decided I'm going to go try and run a major city and treat everybody like a 5-year-old. And hope that they won't commit crimes. That's how they handle crime.
Right. Well, you know, he's a failing. He was a failed social studies teacher, so that's probably where he's getting that from. And also, he wants us to have social workers. So let's get rid of the police, defund the police, and have social workers. I want to see him do that. Let's start with him first. Yeah. Like I keep saying, get rid of that detail, put a bunch of social workers around him, and let's see how that works out for him in Chirac.
Chirac, Tanya.
A Chicago resident and vice president of Chicago Flips Red. Thank you very much for joining us. We know how passionate you are on this issue. President Trump says what he wants is for the governor of that state, Pritzker, to call him and ask him to come in and ask for help. Listen.
I would love to have the governor of Illinois call me and say, look, we have a problem in Chicago. We will stop that problem in Chicago in 2 months, maybe less, 2 months. We'll stop it. These are tough cookies we have working for us.
So do you think that'll ever happen?
Yes, and first let me send my deepest condolence out to the family who lost loved ones in this Catholic school shooting. We in Chicago, this is what we experience every day. When my kids that stay out of town, I don't even want them to come to Chicago and visit me because I'm scared that if they come, that they're going to get murdered, carjacked, or robbed, or I'm going to get a call saying, can you come identify your kid at the morgue? So this is what we are going through in Chicago, and
I just want to let you guys know the reason why this is glazed over with the blur is because these people here don't like you seeing crime actually happening.
Governor and the Democrats, Brandon Johnson, to have a problem with President Trump coming in and want to make our streets safer. It's disgusting. These people are evil, and like President Trump said, they are incompetent. Who wants to look over a casket at your kid when you know this could have been avoided? Yeah. We need help. We need President Trump help. This should not have happened.
Yeah, no, you brought up Mayor Brandon Johnson, and Danielle, I'm sorry if we got a little bit of a time overlap there. You brought up Mayor Johnson. So what he's saying is basically that Republicans they're making it up. You've seen the videos from Governor Pritzker posting, the beautiful shots of the lakefront saying, things are great here. They're saying that Republicans and the Trump White House are playing on people's fears. Okay, here's Mayor Johnson in his own words. Listen.
They don't care about solutions to gun violence or homelessness or immigration. They just don't want to see it. They don't want our communities to be safer for all of us. They just want to play on people's fears and anxieties to seize more power for themselves.
To Mayor Johnson, you say what?
Chicago residents, please listen to me. How many times do we have to see our loved ones and our kids' blood spilled in the streets? How many times do we have to have our loved ones a rest in peace sign on the T-shirts? How many times do we have to go to funerals and mourn and the funerals get shot up? Residents, you live this experience. Do not ever let anyone tell you who don't even live in our communities, don't experience what we are experiencing, to tell us what to do and how we should live in our community. Just last night at 3 a.m. in the morning, down the street from me, I heard 7 gunshots. And I called the police. This is ridiculous. And for someone who don't have to deal what we deal with, don't have our experience to tell us what we need in our communities, it's no way Brandon Johnson or Governor Pritzker would allow their family to go through the things that they know we are going through. Please, residents, you feel it, you are dealing with it. Do not let this happen. Please, we need help, and President Trump is willing to do it, and we welcome that.
Well, and we welcome your thoughts. P. Ray Easy was here yesterday as well. She says she feels like leaders.
All right, so that was Danny and Danielle Carter. I think that's her last name. And then also Zoe is also from Chicago Flips Red. And they are about to come in. I see them in here in the I call it the green room, but it's just basically, let me just make sure our camera is set up correctly. Here we go. Ladies, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, there you are. And introduce yourselves before we go any further.
I'm Danielle Carter Walters, the Vice President of Chicago Flips Red.
And I am Zoe Lee. I am the founder, president of Chicago Flips Red.
So you guys were on here a while ago, but since then you've got big time. I mean, now, we got you on the show, and now you're on Newsmax and Fox and CBS, everywhere. I am so happy for you guys. I'm so happy that you're getting the word out. I knew it would happen. The first time I talked to you guys, I knew there was something there that eventually, if you kept pushing, this message that you're bringing out there is going to just resonate. And I'm sure you guys are seeing it blossom as well. So since we last talked, what's happened with your entire organization?
Well, as you see, our president, Donald Trump, shouted out the beautiful ladies, but the beautiful lady.
No, both of you.
Yeah, and that's something that we've been pushing for a long time. I know before Chicago Flips Red started, me and a lady by the name of Jessica Jackson, we went to over 200 committee meetings and then 40 city hall meetings demanding help. And once we realized that the Democratic Party was not going to help, we pushed for Donald Trump to get in office. And he has been very, 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 he just been very responsive. He sent us love notes in the end of, right after he got elected, and then we went to D.C. to the White House. Danielle testified before Congress, and now he shouted us out finally because we have been demanding help. In the city of Chicago, and the city of Chicago elected officials and pritzers, they have doubled down on trying to silence us. And he finally has opened the door to finally let us free, to let us talk. And we also thank you, Barry, because you gave us a platform to actually speak as well, because we have been silenced for 2 years.
Danielle, one of the things that I wanted to, which is different than like one of the network things, because you can be completely say what you want here, is you guys aren't in a studio somewhere talking about this. You actually live in Chicago. And so over the last couple of weeks, when we've seen all this stuff happening in Washington, D.C., and we've seen what's had been happening in Chicago, all of a sudden it's making news. But you guys have lived it your entire lives, or for what I think. Tell us what life has been like in Chicago.
Well, Barry, I'm born and raised in Chicago, south side of Chicago. I'm 75th in Exchange. It's a place where it's so bad that back then, when I was raised there, it was called Terror Town. Still is, because of how bad it is. I raised my kids over there. So we're in the hood. I raised my kids over there. And at that time, 1990s, late 90s, 2000, I wouldn't even let them go outside the gate and play. Fast forward to now, the kids can't even go outside and play because they're getting shot just sitting in the house right now. So it's that bad. It has gotten progressively worse now. So for us to have these elected officials trying to downplay what's going on in our community is very. The other day, I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, Facebook Live witnessed a guy get murdered on Facebook. He was sitting in his car on the west side of Chicago, and he got robbed and he lost his life. My father is from the west side of Chicago, so I'm from the south side of Chicago. My father and his family is from the west side of Chicago. So I know both sides. They both been bad since I was, born and a little girl. And it has gotten worse. And guess what? Since 1931, the Democrats have ran Chicago. So you cannot put this on Trump or the Republicans. It's their policies, and that's what it is.
I didn't realize I've seen that video you're talking about, and those of you guys who are watching who haven't seen it, it's a younger guy. He's got a gold chain on, and he's doing a live stream video from his car, and they walked up on him and said, "Give me the chain," and actually just shot the guy And nobody talked about it in the media. They just completely ignored it. So I want to play something for you, and then I want to get your reaction. So watch this real quick.
Greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly. But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
Funding. So you're watching what's happening. Oh, where are you guys? You're watching what's happening in Washington. And you must be saying, what about us? what about us here? And so one of the questions I wanted to ask both of you is, let's say, for instance, tomorrow, you were the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois. Could you tell them specifically and go to this neighborhood right here. Here's where these knuckleheads are. Here's where the gangbangers are. It's going to be real simple. Just go here. Could you people and people in the area of, like you said, the South and West, how hard is it going to be to actually say, here they are right here?
Oh, no, not hard at all. I mean, not hard at all. At all. Like, it's real simple.
We know the areas, and not only that, Barry, these boys are putting it on Facebook and on YouTube videos. I actually saw what you see, Barry. You gotta go and it's the young kids, on their YouTube channel. I actually looked at a channel. Somebody sent me a link. The boys had guns. I'm talking about with the they call it the drum, and they made it with switches. And Barry, when they showed the street sign, that was 2 blocks away from my house. They had ski masks on, and it was like 10 of them with those guns and saying, anybody come around here getting ready to get it. And this wasn't long ago, and so they're brazen. They're on YouTube showing this, so it's not hard. You know exactly where to go.
So
GTA.
It's GTA live GTA. Grand
GTA.
And so what's the problem? Because how many police officers are there in Chicago on the whole force?
I know we're down 2,000. We're down 2,000, so I'm not sure, but I know we're down 2,000 police officers. And as you see, that our mayor, who was on the spectrum, he said on Scarborough the other day on MSNBC when they asked him, would additional 5,000 police officers help? Or yes, it would. Yes, it would. I'll answer that for you.
All right, so you brought it up, and for people who haven't seen it, this is what Zoe's talking about.
To help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago. Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing.
Gary, what does affordable, look, how does that benefit you when you're dead? When you're dead?
At this point, I believe that whoever is his puppet master does not speak very good English, so they keep just telling him to say affordable housing. Just keep going out there saying affordable housing. Affordable housing is like a code word for help at this point for him, because that's everything that you ask him. It doesn't matter what it is, what context, if it's education, if it's public safety, everything is affordable housing. You're sitting on $832 million of infrastructure money that you had them pass this year. You're sitting on Invest Southwest money that you laundered into money, the housing bonds. I'm trying to tell you, I studied this idiot for 2 years down there. So I know where the money is. You got money for affordable housing. The issue is affordable housing is the key word for we need more money to launder, to steal.
Exactly. I mean, I grew up in a city up in Connecticut, and I've told people on this channel many times, I can, to this day, I can drive back to Connecticut and go right back to that same area where generations have done the same stuff. And it's so funny because I see this stuff on the networks and everything, and they talk about we need more money, we need more money. That's where people like you come in handy, because you can say, you've spent the money. Like you just said, Zoe, where has the money gone? I mean, I'm not going to say your ages or expect you to tell me how old you are, but I'm sure you've seen it, and it's the same way where you are. There are certain areas that just don't change regardless of how much money you put into it.
And they have gotten worse. But the thing is, Barry, if he really believed what he's saying, far as if he really believed to make us safer and things like that, he was for defunding the police. If he was for investing in our safety and things like that, when he first got into office, he could have did that. But when he chose to spend our money on, which he could have used for protection and safety, he chose to spend our money on illegal aliens. We told him, hey, we need those resources. Not only did he take the money and spend it, he took the little resources that we had in our community, he took it away from us. And we were down there at the city council meeting, very vocal about what he was doing. So if you need money, let's talk about money. That $600 million that he spent, which we know is more, we just gonna go back to the line numbers they giving us.
Just like these crime statistics.
The line crime statistics that's down. If you would have used that, just the $600 million, and invested that in more officers and crime prevention, then we would have been better off. But we know these Democrats, they run on the problem. They tell us what the problem is, but when they're in when they're in a position to solve those problems, they don't, because that's not the motive in the first place.
You know, it was something you said that struck me, and I didn't know. You said he was a failed school teacher, which means he has no business experience. He hasn't done anything, hasn't accomplished anything. At the heart of the matter, because you guys have lived there, how are these people getting voted in, and are they being installed by somebody else? And if they're being installed by somebody else, who's running Chicago?
Well, first off, he was a substitute teacher. So that's what people need to understand too. He was a substitute teacher. Number two is it's F Obama forever and ever, because Obama is the reason why our schools, and Daly too, is our schools are messed up the way they are, and 14,000 black teachers were laid off in our cities. Now, the reason why I say black is because the city of Chicago is very segregated. So you have the South Side where Rahm Emanuel has shut down plenty of black schools, and he also shut down all the mental health institutions. So you're dealing with a whole bunch of undiagnosed, all of this. Then we do not get out and vote. Brandon Johnson got in there by barely. And the reason why is because Paul Vallis was the second choice. Paul Vallis, a lot of people remember saying that he also messed up the school system and a couple of other school systems across the country. So it was either him or this idiot, but we could have took Vallis. You understand? But CTU, which is a criminal organization, the Chicago Teachers Union, Jackson Potter, Stacey Davis Gates, but really Jackson Potter and his mother, they are running this city. They're running the progressives. And this is these are progressive Democratic gang members. And they are running the city. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to govern. They're organizers. They're quick to tell you that we did hunger strikes. Hunger strikes don't got nothing to do with what you're doing with running this city. So hunger strikes, bravo that you did that. You fasted. Fasting and running the city is two different things. And that is the problem.
Have you looked at? I saw an interview recently where they said like none of the kids are passing in math or reading. Have you guys dug into that at all and how bad the CTU is failing these kids?
Yeah, because see, Barry, I'm gonna let Zoe answer some of that too, but Barry, you gotta understand, we pay the most for per student.
Yeah.
So they're getting like $30,000 per student. So now you gotta think about it. A lot of our kids in our communities are not going to school. And that's the thing we got to deal with too. So now they have a bunch of empty seats because they don't care about the kids. It's all about the money. So if you have a bunch of empty seats, then you don't get that $30,000 per kid. So yeah. So now that's why they brought in all these illegal alien kids to fill these seats. Because they didn't care about our kids, because you didn't understand, okay, what was the root problem of them not, why wasn't our kids coming to school? Because first you have to put responsibility on the parents, and you have to see what in the system, in the teaching, what's going on in the classrooms. And you have to understand, so they don't care about any of those, what is the root cause of it. They just care about filling those seats, and that's what it is. So now you have an influx of illegal aliens that have been placed in there to fill those seats, and now they're still getting money from them. And so did you say they had went over there to?
Oh yeah, they went to Venezuela in 2018. Not Brandon Johnson, but Stacey Davis Gates, a few other CTU members went over to Venezuela. This was in 2018, so this was planned. This was organized. They already knew what they were going to do. And when these progressives snuck in office, all of them in 2019, right before the COVID, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these people came in with this agenda. They were already building this. They were planning on taking over our children. They fired every educator that actually had a degree in education and hired all of these activists, organizers, CTU members that, these paid protesters. To push this ideology in these schools that have nothing to do with the regular curriculum that you have learned, that I learned, that Danny learned, and we're all different ages. I'm a millennial. I'm happy to be a millennial. I'm 39. You know what I'm saying? However, this is what we're dealing with. These kids don't know penmanship. These kids don't know how to read. These kids don't know how to write. These kids don't know. They don't even have physical education no more. Wow. You know what I'm saying? They're taking the tracks out of some of the schools. These kids aren't running. These kids are not doing no trades. anything. This was designed for this. So the crime is going to continue to happen because they're their brains are still developing. So you're teaching them only negative things, bad things, drill music. They're telling you not to be anti-police. So they don't want to be the police. I ain't going to be no police. I don't want to be no rat. Oh, the police is the ops. Just F the police. No, we need the police. So
I have a serious question for you. The serious question is this. You guys are making waves. You're starting to get on network news. People are seeing you. And honestly, I don't know if you have significant others that are helping you, but do you guys feel safe yourself? Are you worried about people lashing out at you?
Yeah. She's been physically assaulted. We were physically assaulted, but she was physically assaulted. You know, and if she didn't have that video, that little video of that happening, it would have been worse. People cannot stand what we're doing. You understand? But we have to do it. You understand? It has to be done. So yes, the backlash, the hate mail. We get hate mail all day. The white liberals are losing it. You understand? The white liberals are losing. The black elite, the turds, they're mad. And you understand? They're pissed off because this is the first time since 1931 that this city can go red, and it has to. It has to go red. It has to.
Are the people in the community? Go ahead, Danny.
Let me just say this quick thing. And if you think about it, look what our governor and mayor are saying. They're inciting this violence and this behavior. They're inciting it.
How are the people, and I'm sure you guys, your organization is growing, and it's obviously with everything that you're doing right now, how are the people on the ground taking you guys? Are they saying, yeah, we might be ready for a change, or is it the same old thing, trying to get people to understand things can be done differently? How hard is it to push that big boulder and get it moving?
At first, Barry, it was because I lost my business. I lost a lot of things doing this, but because we were so vocal and so determined, and we understood that because we're so brainwashed, especially in the black community, you have to show them. You can't just say it. You have to show them. So because we've been on the ground, boots on the ground, showing them where the shelters are, showing them where they're teaching our kids trans and LGBTQ in public libraries from ages 0 to 5. And they're having drag queen story hours and gender affirming stations from ages 0 through 5. Going down there, doing videos, showing them where their tax dollars are going, showing them illegal aliens driving nice cars and nice hotels and putting nice things, showing them. So you have to show them. We're out there doing the outreach. I have my bullhorn, and I'm going everywhere with the bullhorn, just shouting it out, telling people, this is what you have to do, because they are so blind. And if you don't show them with the proof, then you're just talking. So now that they are seeing it, and a lot of we get emails saying, I can't believe this was happening. Now they're starting to email us saying, hey, I have a bunch of illegal aliens in my building, and they doing this, and they got guns and stuff.
The silent majority hears us. This is just such a vindictive city. This is the most corrupt city on the planet.
Yeah.
So they can't come out in the masses like they would like to, because next thing you know, their business is shut down. The city done shut down their business. They have 30,000 parking tickets. Their car is booted. I only got 3-4 boots. So they can't. So we only get, I'm unhoused. Man, I'm sleeping on the ground. That's how I said, because this city knocked down my building, and they still have yet to settle the case. But I'm so determined to flip this city for change that it's all hands on deck. I mean, when I say by any means necessary to take down this machine, this corrupt machine that has hurt us for so long, I'm all for it. I don't care. I'm willing to would risk my life for it.
So I got a question for you. Like, let's pretend that President Trump or Kristi Noem or somebody in the organization says, tell me what you guys want me to do first, second, and third. What should happen if because Pritzker's never going to invite President Trump in. So if he were to come in, what do they need to do? From your perspective.
First, we need this will solve everything, Gary. If President Trump come in and do a forensic audit just on how they spent our money on the illegal alien scam, on the infrastructure money, on the CTU, if he just come in just a forensic audit, that's going to take care of a lot of this.
They need a federal investigation. They need to bring the Department of Justice in. They need to bring the IRS criminal division in. They need to bring in the feds. They need to bring. I'm not sure if your supporters know or if you're familiar with Operation Greylord, but Operation Greylord happened in 1984 on the Cook County side. They came and arrested prosecutors, judges, lawyers, postal services, sheriffs. They need to do the same thing on the city side and Cook County side. It's called Operation Greylord. And if you look this up, it's on the FBI website. It's the only time they ever came in Chicago and did it, and they need to do it again. It happened, I think, in 1984. So I've been pushing for that when I was going down there a long time. I said, this y'all need another Operation Greylord. But that's what they need. They need to bring in the IRS criminal division first.
You guys are talking about messing with people's money, so you better make sure you're protected, because it's one thing talking about these gangbangers. It's another thing when you start talking about the Al Capone type stuff and taking on this giant Democrat machine that's been stealing forever. So I have somebody just walked by in the background. I'm like, who's that? But Danielle, I understand that there may be a future in politics for you. Are you looking to throw your hat in the ring and actually run for office?
Yes, I am. You know what, Barry? This is not something I chose. This chose me.
Okay.
Only thing I said was yes to God. When I said yes to God, I thought that I was going to be training. You know, I'm a personal trainer. I thought it was going to be in the training era. This right here and what he showed me and what he told me, in order for me and us to make this change and do the right thing, you have to do it yourself. You can't depend on these established politicians because they're already paid and bought. So you have to do it. And so,
Now, when would you be making your final decision and announcing what it is you're going to run for? How far in the future? What are we talking?
Okay, Barry.
It'll probably be in probably about 3 weeks, and we would love to come back on and announce on your show.
Oh, well, Ashley's watching right now. Yeah.
We appreciate
you. And I want the people to understand, like, we're just regular people. We're entrepreneurs. You know, my mother, that's who walked past. I do this. She's the one who motivated me, because at the end of the day, you only get one of them. And my mother raised me very right. And she was an entrepreneur. And this is her city. And this city has been corrupt for a very long time. And my mother ran away twice. I said she ran away twice to New York. I'm from New York, you know, just because she just could not get it going here, because you got to be clicked up. And this time we're not running.
Yeah, we're not running because I'm born and raised here. I saw what Chicago was, and I know what it can be. It just takes somebody who's willing to put in their work and who love the citizens, who love the people, and not trying to steal money, who don't answer to man. I answer to God, so I don't really have that fear, because everything that God called me to do this, so He got to take care of it.
Yeah, and I want to say, as a public servant, they don't understand public service, public servant, and the fact that these are part-time positions and the money that they get, and if they can't live off of that money, then they don't need to be in office.
They can show up.
They don't even need to be in office.
They
They don't even show up to work. Like this, yeah, they have turned this into a lifestyle. They are career politicians, career actors, and they don't know how to govern. They'll never know how to govern because no one doesn't challenge them. Chicago Flips Red is the first time we finally challenged everybody in this city, in this state. It's Chicago Flips Red against the Democratic machine, and we're gonna win.
Well, ladies, I'm behind you 100%. I'm pretty sure the people watching are behind you 100%. And you said a couple things, and I want you guys to put the armor of God over you because I know there's arrows coming at you from all different directions. So please stay safe. Please come back on. Keep fighting. Do whatever you're doing is working. So just keep doing it, and whatever we can do to help, we will do so as well. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you. Hey, what up?
Talk to you soon. Talk to you soon. All right, everybody. That was Chicago Flips Red, and we, like I said, we've had these ladies on before, and they've done fantastic, and we love everything that they've been doing. It's refreshing, and it's something you're not going to see on all of the networks because the networks won't show you actual people in the neighborhoods and what people are actually going through. It's easy in a studio to say, oh yeah, everything's fine. No, it's not fine. I don't think people can even understand that they're, can you imagine seeing gunfire and everything go flying by you and all that kind of stuff? I could not even imagine. Couldn't even imagine. All right, so let me tell you what's going to happen tonight. I'm going to have this, J.D. Vance is talking right now, so I'll have him. And Ashley has got 2 former FBI agents slotted for an interview, so we'll talk to them. I'm glad you like the lady. Ladies, you guys are like the best guests yet. Very enthusiastic girls. Yeah, very well. Yeah, please check them out. And then tonight, when we jump over to Rumble, I'm going to show you the movie that Alpha Warrior told me about in terms of the Codex 9/11. Again, if you want to join us, get here early or get here late at Rumble, either way. And then the movie itself is 2.5 hours long, so I'm going to try and do it quick. I'm going to try to get into Rumble by 8:30, so you guys aren't up all night. So you'd be up, we'll get done by 10:30, 11. Or if I leave now, if I end now and we start at 7, and then we can jump to Rumble at 8, and then we'd be out by 10:30. So I'm gonna expedite things now so that we can get moving for tonight. Eddie says actually their movement is growing. They are known and secretly supported by a large portion of the police department in Chicago. These ladies are heroes for Chicago. I believe that as well. I believe that. Great interview, Barry. And you know what the thing is about why I really like talking to these guys? I really like talking to them because it's real. We talk to a lot of politicians. We talk to a lot of people, in Congress and legislation and things like that. And we talk to a lot of people who have different sort of, I won't use the word negatively, but agendas. And this is pure. This is just 2 people who decided one day, you know what, we've had enough. And, it was very interesting. And some of you who may be new to our channel don't know, but the first time they came on here, Danny's microphone didn't work. She kept freezing. It was that raw. And then we took up a donation, and you guys responded, and we were able to get them, they were able to move into an office and buy equipment. And I'm like, it's really happening. It can happen at the ground level. So if you're in your area and you're wondering, how can I do something? How can I get involved in changing where I live? What do I need to do? Well, maybe contact them and ask, hey, how did you guys get started? What is it that, I want to change my neighborhood? What do I do? Because I think that's a very daunting task. A lot of people are like, I don't know how do I begin? How do I start making noise? With everything we've seen with this guy shooting at this school, that's a local level thing. That's not federal. That's not, state. That's local level. Somebody should have made sure there was protection at that church/school. That protection should have had a perimeter. That could be something you could start literally tomorrow. You could talk to a bunch of parents and go, you know what? I drove by the school today and there was nobody standing outside watching. We're going to take it upon ourselves to basically protect the school. Because everybody in that part of Minneapolis, oh, you saw, they're talking about it now, but nobody, notice the mayor. The mayor has held press conference after press conference, and he didn't talk about that. Hey, do you think you might have want to secure the school? I'm sure some of those parents' lawyers are going to have him talking about it. But that should have been the first thing, before anything else. Hey, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. Not having a press conference and say, let me take away everybody's guns. My first press conference would have been, we're going to make sure this never happens again. We're going to surround all these schools. We're going to put a cloak of protection and make sure, seriously, make sure it's not going to happen again. Didn't hear that, did you? That's why I turned it on. I wanted to hear him. I wanted him to come out and say, you know what? After yesterday, we are putting armed guards behind, 2 or 3, depending on the population, how many kids are in the school. We're going to have armed guards there. We're going to have a vehicle parked out in front of every single school. We're going to make sure that there's some sort of resource officer walking the halls. Nope. Didn't hear that, did you? That's how you know they're full of it. That's how you absolutely know that the liberals are full of crap. Instead of taking the guns away from the people in your immediate area, why don't you worry about that? Why don't you worry about surrounding that school with some sort of force field? And the school next to it. And a church down the road. When we go to church here, even though it's in Boca, as soon as you pull up to go in the driveway, there's a sheriff's vehicle right at the front. And then when you get out and walk to the church, the first thing you see is 2 deputies. Big deputies, armed. None of us freak out. Hey, how you doing, officer? How you doing today? How you doing this morning? Need some coffee? So all this stuff about we don't want to see them. We don't want the kids and the congressional people or what do you call it? The people in the pews to walk past armed people. Really? You don't? Today you still don't? You see, because what would have happened if you had protected that school/church, and this idiot rolls up and he comes out in his black gear and he's got all this weaponry? I think he would have went down pretty quick. So that's how you know first off the bat that these Democrats are not serious at all. They're blowing smoke up your butt. Because this morning, I'm telling you right now, if I had a 9, 7, 6-year-old child going to a school, I would have driven by it this morning and scoped it. Did you? I mentioned that to you yesterday. Have you looked at where your kids or grandkids happen to be going to school? And are you okay with the protection? And if you didn't see any protection, then you shouldn't be okay. If you didn't see a police car sitting there with an officer outside of your family's school, you might want to question that. Because the bad guys are looking, obviously. The kid drew it out. He drew out the entirety of the church. He knew where the congregation was going to be sitting and which windows and everything else. He knew. He was scoping it. You have to, at this point, assume that people are scoping out vulnerabilities. And it's not hard to find the vulnerabilities. In fact, if there was protection there beforehand, perhaps some people would have seen this guy scoping out the church. Because you're just looking. You're sitting in your car. You're watching like, oh, wow, I've seen that car 3 times. I've seen that kid walk on the grounds 2 or 3 times. What the hell is he doing? I want to know why this kid is walking around the grounds. Have you watched this? Have you looked at anywhere? I'm telling you, stop sitting at home. The ladies from Chicago Flip Red, it only happens when you decide you're going to do something. Stop watching TV. Stop listening to all the speeches and stuff. Get 4 or 5 of you people together and say, listen, we're going to make sure this school's okay. And we're going to take turns, and we're going to sit here from 9 to 2 o'clock or whatever. And we're going to see. We're going to see if anything shows up untoward. Remember, the teachers can't. They're all playing with the kids and talking to the kids. You can't expect the kids to go, hey, Mom, there's a guy over here. No. Who's watching out for your kids? It keeps happening. And the only way this keeps happening is because the other bad guys are scoping out the vulnerabilities. You ever notice that the ones that where it seems to keep happening, you're like, how did it happen? Well, it's pretty easy. It's really easy to understand how it keeps happening. It's not the gun. The gun didn't walk itself. Somebody scoped out this area and realized, yeah, that's easy pickings. So if you know the bad guys are out there, which we obviously see, they're not going away, be ready. All right. Barry's not good with guessing age. No, I'm not. Barry, I feel like Barry's been watching my street, the car that comes by 30 times. You're like, okay, what are you up to? Unless you got an Amazon sticker or you're delivering pizza, or in our case, the Thai restaurant, what you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And it's funny because you laugh, but I guarantee you if the ladies were still here and I said, you notice when something drives through your neighborhood that's not supposed to be there? Oh, yeah. You've seen it in black movies. They all get that look like, what are you doing here? Yeah. Why isn't that in the white neighborhoods? Why is that car up in here? You don't know anybody that lives here. You just happen to stroll down my neighborhood. Get out of here. All right, everybody. Yeah, police and security at my daughter's high school for years. Absolutely. That's what we need to see. Drones and dogs. There you go. Yeah, they wouldn't even. Do you realize I can watch my grandson's football games from my TV sitting right there? They have what's called a PTZ camera. And a PTZ camera is basically an electronic camera where somebody somewhere is operating a camera by remote control. It's not a drone, but there's a camera probably on the stadium that fixes on the field, and somebody knows, okay, it's 7 o'clock, I got to go ahead, and they just work the camera, and you could do that from home. But that goes... my pit bull held this creep from leaving. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Wow, it says, per Grok, 43% of adults in Minnesota live in households with at least one poo-poo. And that's pretty cool. Pretty good. I forgot to tell the ladies this. I should have brought this up before we go. My bad. I had it all scheduled to go up, but I forgot to show it to them. Governor Pritzker had 6 murders in Chicago this past weekend. 20 people were shot, but he doesn't want to ask for help. How can this be possible? The people are desperate for me to stop the crime, something the Democrats aren't capable of doing. Stay tuned. So there may be some stuff that Danny and Zoe weren't really telling us yet, or maybe they don't know, but I forgot to bring this up to them. What do you mean, stay tuned? What's about to happen? But you know what? You know what they call 6 murders in Chicago on a weekend? A slow weekend. A very, very slow weekend. Imagine living like that where you live. Every single week. And now we're going into a holiday weekend. Whew, crazy town. All right, so let me do super chats, and then I will jump back and get ready for the night show. Hopefully, nothing crazy happens. It's a holiday weekend coming up. Who knows what President Trump's going to do? He was supposed to, as he always does, 3:30 or so, sign executive orders. So maybe I'll have that as well to show you at the later show. All right, let me do this, and okay, here we go. Boom. All right, I think this calls for more prayer nights, Barry. Yeah, you may be right. You may indeed be right. JJ, I spoke to him this morning, as I told you, so we're going to work on that. Robert Gallant praying for more widespread prayer. Yep, instead of them trying to diminish it, we need to increase it. Absolutely. Vakovsky, born and raised in a socialist land that is too familiar to me. Can't blame people not realizing what is happening here. Yep. Moshe, I know this is a late comment. No, I don't think it's late. No, you're not late. Actually, you're one of the tops. But I once heard a sermon about the power of prayer, that even a thief can escape with a heartfelt prayer. Doc Webb, my doctor is not happy that I stopped taking statins. Good for you. And just taking natural supplements. I beat the lab test. Big Pharma is her jam, not mine. I'm telling you, you guys think I'm kidding. I got all kinds of stuff sitting right here. All kinds. I got that. And then I've got, what else do I have here? I have ornithine. And what's this one here? And iron, blood builder, and all kinds of stuff sitting here that I take throughout the day. Arginine. Oh yeah. I got like a little supplement store sitting right here. I'm ready. When I started covering President Trump, I realized get your act together. Ray Sugg, thank you. Fazul, the enemy no longer hides, does he? Nope. Heavenly Father, give us and our president the strength to defeat the evil that attacks us. Fight the good fight. Absolutely. Penny Quarter, it never ends well for those who try something they are not. Peggy Valianti, thank you. Go to ChatGPT, take a picture of manifesto from last night, and it will decipher the words for you. It will blow your mind. Scared to. I don't get scared of many things. That was pretty bad. Bielka, Barry, the indoctrination is getting so bad you can't watch a movie without seeing same-gender gross acts. Yep, I know. Deb Blank, you just got confirmation of my silver purchase from Lear Capital. You rock. Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. Demon of Cybertron, I'm sorry for what happened, but moms demand action. The organization is no good. They're just gun-grabbing Karens. I agree. Bielka again. Get April Chapman on the show. She is good. Don't know who she is, but maybe Ashley can find her. Jax, pew-pews are no more responsible for ending people than spoons are responsible for making people overweight. Exactly. Buddy Sanders, and will never go to Minnesota on vacation ever again. Crazy people out there. Redneck, thank you. Condition, remember, the stats are based on the entirety. Being a cop after 1 week, those stats are outstanding. Thomas Johnson, imagine that SSRIs and hormone blockers cause psychotic breaks. I pray HHS investigates and DOJ whips that. Yeah, I think so. It's going to happen. Fazul, Chicago politics is straight up racketeering. That's why I hope those ladies are safe. Fazul again, the more chaos, the more we can steal. Dems credo. Absolutely. Hey, Mr. Heath, thank you for hosting our Chicago Flip Reds lady. Thank you for, I think you were the first one who brought me attention to me. So yes, thank you. Thomas Johnson, that's why we watch you, Barry. No info filter. Thank you. And our Heath again. At Chicago Flips Red, we will host a couple of Zooms in October to help people get started. We'll send Ashley the link. Very well. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. I'm going to jump so I can get back on here. I'll post the link tonight. Wait a second. There was one more here. It says, Deidre says, Barry, give those lady body cams. That would be pretty cool if we did like a street video and they went out and took just actual pictures of things. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. I was kind of disappointed with the press conference, but at this point, she runs them. She owns them. There's nothing they can do. Let's talk to you guys soon.